Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you are. We are doing the Senior Synth stream number 13, and today it's about not pigs in space, but synths in space. And we have some lovely guests today. We have Howard Scarr from Germany.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. And we have Christophe Piper, or Piper.
Hello.
Is it Piper?
Piper.
Piper, yeah.
Or Piper or Piper, as you like. It's a very international name.
Yeah. And you are from Germany too.
Yes, I'm from Berlin.
Yeah. And we have Ken Flux Pierce. You are from the States. And you're muted.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm from Wilmington, Delaware.
Yeah, welcome. And another American is Andy, Synth Addict.
Hello.
Hello, everybody knows you.
Yeah.
as next to you, Kent Spong from London.
From here. Yeah.
Yeah.
This chair.
Let's take each of you and let's hear let's hear about your background, and unmute everyone else. If you want to say something, unmute yourself and speak. So Howard, let's hear all about you.
Ooh, I'm probably the oldest in this round. I'm 69 going on 70, and started with a EMS gear in 1973 with a band called Zorch, which is the first all synth band in the UK, as far as I know. And then I spent a long time being a very poor hippie until, a very long time, till I moved to Germany because of a lady friend who I met in Bristol at the time. And all I did was play synths all day, so nothing else I could do but do sound design. So I finally got some jobs around 97, 98 or something for Access and for Roland and other companies, all hardware. And I did a lot for the Access virus, a lot of the factory presets. And after that, I kind of went into the software thing and found Zebra, which was a great revelation for me, how powerful synths could be when you do it in the software. And from there on, I got myself hired, and I'm becoming comfortably numb, as they say, with age. And that's what I want to do until I drop dead, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've done quite a few sounds for Hollywood as well. So if you check out my IMDb, it's none too shabby. The next, please.
Okay. Christophe, all about you. Oh, you're muted.
So, all about me. So I'm the guy with the Wine and Synths YouTube channel, and why wine? Because wine is my primary passion, and it was also my job for many years as a taster.
Before you continue, we have some static noise on your sound. So
Static noise.
yeah, I think if you try to disconnect and connect again, I think it will fix it, but I'm not sure. It could be a hardware thing.
Connect or disconnect what?
Yeah, just leave studio and follow the link again to get in.
Okay. How can I do this?
In the bot, yeah. We'll wait till he gets in and see if it fixes everything. So Boom, boom, boom. Welcome to the chatties. Let's see who we have here. We have, let's see. The first one was Ken Flux. No, there are more. Oh, it's scrolling all the time. It's difficult here. Grown and Synchrotron, Steve Ward, Keith in Watford, Stephen Smith. Let's see. I also have to keep a watch on. Yeah, there he is.
How do we see the chat room, Henrik?
I don't know. You should be able to see it, but I don't know how it looks for to you.
Okay. Anything?
It's
the comments section. It'll change. You'll go from private chat to comments.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, good. We'll get back to you, Christophe, in a second. I'm presenting the chatters. Boom, boom. Steve Ward, Keevan Watford, and Matt Brown. I may have mentioned some of you already. I don't know how to say that. 8 orb or IIX orb. And then Paula Tola. Boom, boom. Kosh Dukai. And Synth Addict. He's always there. And yeah, I really don't understand. You can do all that at the same time. I can't.
I pay for it in the end, but it's fun. So life's too short.
Let's see. I think I've mentioned most. Culture of Ghosts and Matt Evans. Did I mention him? And Inky, Lisa is on. Tracker Jack, and let's see. Nearly at the now. Paula Tola. Oh, now it's scrolling wrong here. Let's see. It's really scrolling in a strange way. So Azure Head, I saw. Inverted Popes. Paul Holmes. I hope I got you all. But let's get back to Christophe and hear all about you and if the audio is fine.
Is the audio better now? Or I'm still
It's
noisy?
perfect.
It's perfect.
It's
okay.
perfect.
So, as I told you before, my first passion is wine. The second passion is music. And and actually some years ago, I came back to the music for some more or less unpleasant reasons, and I started this channel. And with synthesizers, I started back in the 80s when I was a teenager, like so many of us, hanging around in those music stores and catching a glimpse of the new JX3P or the DX7 and trying to play on it. And I was always fascinated by music gear. And so in the 90s, I also had a job in the synthesizer industry as a product specialist at Quasi-MIDI Musikelektronik here in Germany, and I was involved in the creation of the Revolution 309, the
I've got one of those.
And yeah,
I have the Sirius, which is a shoot off of that.
the Sirius also.
And the
I was the guy who wrote those manuals for those machines. And then later on, I had a distribution company for vinyl records and also had several labels. And And then later in the 2000s, there was a point where vinyl for DJs was not a good business anymore. Everybody was bankrupt, and DJs downloaded everything on their USB sticks. So I went back to my first interest, the wine, and so since some years now, I went back to the music. I still own a wine shop also here in Berlin, but my primary interest is creating music and videos. And yeah, so here I am.
Okay. Then let's take Ken Spong.
Hello.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in 1962. No. God, I kind of suffer from the same thing. I'm kind of stuck at home. So it was play keyboards or leap out of the window. It was the choices that were available to me. So so I got into keyboards from as soon as I could get anywhere near one. Fell in love with them. And fell in love with the insides of them. Then became eventually a repairer of synthesizers, because before that I used to repair cars. It's heavier and, well, I thought it was heavier and dirtier, but then I specialised in CS80s, and it's exactly the same. It's just as heavy and just as dirty. So, and that's what I've done ever since, really. There's not much to me. There ain't much to work with. I'm sorry. That's it. That is me. And a propensity for buying big, muscly American cars, but agoraphobia. Yeah. There's a combination that doesn't work.
Yeah, sometimes you interrupt the streams because you need to shout out of the window because someone is sitting on your car.
Yeah, taking photographs. Get off the car. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Kent. Tell us about you, if you're ready.
Yeah, the other Kent.
Ken, not Kent.
Oh, sorry, Ken.
I'm not that prestigious.
No, he couldn't afford the tea. Not the tea as well. No. That's going too far.
I'm over here like programming my Omega 8 while I listen. So. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a synthesizer guy. That's I work with ASM is my day gig as product specialist and support and sound designer, and we all wear a lot of hats over at ASM. Small company, so we all do stuff.
I love that Hydrosynth Deluxe. Fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I'm very, very glad to hear that, because we put a lot of work into it and it doesn't stop. And I'm sure, as you guys know, who are all involved in synth companies, that it's usually most of these synthesizer companies are really small teams. And I find that a lot of customers don't necessarily realize how small the music tech industry actually is. So it's always interesting when you see people like, oh, this is like some big corporation, when in reality it's always like a small group of people making these products that we all love. Yeah, just glad to be here and talk synths.
And let's take Andy. All about you. We haven't heard.
Hey everybody. Welcome to the Spacey Synth stream. Poor man's theremin. Man, my background is mostly in science and stuff. So I was while I was doing that, I was getting into electronic music and studying people who are doing lots of sampling and field recording. And I used to do lots of field recording before I could afford proper synths. And then once I had all this material, when I got a sampler and an actual synthesizer, then I started going nuts, kind of Bernie Krause style, if you guys follow his career. And then at some point I discovered eBay because of my brother doing antiques, and I said, I can actually afford synthesizers now. So I started going back to the past and buying lots of stuff I was drooling over in the store when I was in high school and so forth. And the rest is history. I have way too many. Well, I guess you can never have too many, but I kind of have too many synths and drum machines and stuff now. So.
Bieber and Kras, Gandharva is one of my favorite albums.
Oh yeah.
Love that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So I still able to do my science stuff. I have a science channel on YouTube and a microscope channel on YouTube that I've been playing some of Hendrix music on there and stuff. And so I get to combine all my hobbies now, which is fun. So I love it.
Great. Then I'll talk a little bit about myself because I have a few albums on Bandcamp, and this week I am giving a gift to everybody who purchased some of my music sometime, even if they do it today or tomorrow, but not after tomorrow. And everyone who does that will get a mail or have gotten a mail where I offer 3 free albums. They can select which, and I'll send the downloads to them. I will repeat this again next year. So either get 3 free albums today, tomorrow, by purchasing something from my Bandcamp page at jx3d.bandcamp.com, or do it next year. Get it next year. Okay, enough of that. Back to the topic. The topic is synthesizers in space, and let's start with you, Andy. You know a bit about sound effects, I've heard.
Oh yeah, science fiction nut from the jump, and horror. So, but yeah, just watching Outer Limits as a kid, and Forbidden Planet, which is one of the most amazing sound effects laden soundtracks. It's kind of music, kind of sound design, kind of whatever, made with a lot of test equipment type stuff that the Radiophonic Workshop was famous for years later. Excuse me. But being an astronomy nerd as well, been following lots of people using this technology and actual probe data from probes out in space. So if you guys ever heard of Dr. Fiorella Terenzi from Italy, she has a PhD in physics and does a lot of astronomy type work, but also has albums using space probe data recordings and synthesis on top of that, and making pretty cool spacey albums. One of them was called NASA even has it on their, I thought they had it on their website, but the one's called Music from the Galaxies, and she explains in the thing how she actually used some of the recordings from the various probe data, because the probes are, obviously there's no sound in space. You guys know this is a physics nerd thing here, but there's no air in space. It's a vacuum. So you have particles in space that can vibrate, but they're sparse. And so all the whooshing sounds in movies obviously can't happen from spaceships and stuff, although they sound cool. And so when they send probes out there to record data, like a magnetometer from Jupiter and all that kind of stuff, they convert those signals into audible sounds, and then they use those sometimes in sound design. So that's what Fiorella did in her work. But I've heard it done for other movies and other things, because the stuff is available online, public domain. You can go grab the samples you want and just kind of screw around with them. So that's a shortcut to weird synthy sounds without having a synthesizer or knowing how to use a synthesizer. So samplers are your friend in that case. But yeah, there's just a whole great history of 50 sci-fi using the theremin and test equipment like Heinbach does on his channel, going way back then into now into modern synthesizers, all the wonderful stuff Howard does on his projects with making really cool sounds for various projects. And yeah, it's just, I can go on all day just about all the titles and stuff, but just some of the background there is pretty clever, because people are actually using real data repurposed for entertainment. It's really fun.
Can we talk a bit about sonification? Because I've never found anything that I actually liked.
They can be harsh. Yeah. Kind of like extreme granular stuff, or or
it's
lots
just
of noisy bits?
the sonification thing. It's so arbitrary. They can work out any way to use this data and make music with it. So they might as well not use the data.
Like Jupiter has this kind of a swell, kind of a pulse from the magnetosphere, and it's pretty cool actually. But
So if you could post her name, I'd like to listen to that.
yeah, sure, I'll put it in the private chat, and then Henrik can put the thing up there.
Yeah. About NASA, sounds from NASA. How do you pronounce it? NASA.
NASA.
NASA. Yeah. They are. It's possible to use their sounds. It's only if some people are speaking on them, you have to seek permission from the people who are speaking. But
sense.
else, you can use all samples from them in your music. It's not a problem. So just remember to ask permission if someone is counting down. You have to find out who it is. Then,
yeah, obviously, if you're doing professional, like monetized recordings, you have to do that. But I think for fun on YouTube, that they don't really care so much. So.
Yeah. But if you release something, at least you've got to have the permission. Yeah.
Hey, Henrik, I also popped in our private chat here a thing. I'll post it in the chat too. There's, if you go to NASA's website, they have like a list of a whole bunch of their sounds, and there's another website as well that does this. I've used it a bunch, where you can get all their raw audio recordings, and you know, they've done things like taken the sound of Saturn and, you know, made that into human hearing range and that sort of thing. And that stuff is like Andy was saying, when you put that stuff through granular, it's really cool. I love throwing that stuff through like different types of reverbs, and, you know, just playing with it like that. You get some really nice textures out of it. And then of course you can grab a texture from that, loop it, pitch it correctly, and then, you know, essentially multi-sample it across keys and stuff.
Or Paul stretch it and get some really weird.
Exactly. Paul stretching that stuff is even, because then you're taking something that's already been kind of put into human hearing range, and then you've manipulated it even further, and like you're just like breaking these technologies apart a bit. It can be pretty fun to explore.
Ken, you are using a compressor on your sound, on your microphone. Are you?
Am I?
Yeah, it sounds like that. It's cutting endwords.
It's ducking a little bit. It's dropping.
Yeah, ducking. Yeah.
Does it sound like an LFO?
No. Sounds like
when
you're pausing and beginning to speak again. So it sounds like a compressor.
That might be StreamYard. Let me double check my Motu settings just to make sure. Oh, you know what? I do have a gate on here. Let me take that back. Okay, is that better? Let me
so far.
I'll talk a little bit just to see if you can get a range.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had a little bit of an extreme gate on here because I was doing some processing earlier. So sorry about that.
Andy, can I post your link too?
Yeah, definitely. It's just a link to one of her albums, and it talks about her history in the blurb a bit, where she's from, what she does.
Yeah.
So it's funny, on the blurb they actually say she's a combination of Madonna and Carl Sagan.
Okay. Howie, you did a lot of things for Hans Zimmer on Blade Runner, the new one. Can you?
Lots of other things as well, but okay, Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I was just checking some of. See if I got. I just remembered that I'd actually for that movie. It was a very quick thing. Here, can you immerse yourself in the Blade Runner soundtrack, the original, and make some of those sounds, because we got to get this done within 2 weeks. So I did that. I actually tried to do Mary Hopkins with her. you know, that stuff.
Mm.
And all the plinky plonky stuff, and tried to do that all in separate, and delivered it, and it worked out. You know, they used it, so it doesn't always take months to make the sounds. A bit of pressure is always very good,
Yeah.
especially when you get lazy like me.
So you delay everything to the last day and then do it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good not to overthink it. Just do
Yeah,
it and move
I
on.
just remember my childhood and what I really liked from sci-fi movies. Do you remember in The Clockwork Orange, where the two guys are beating up Alex? You know, they got that zing sound. It must have been Wendy Carlos or Walter at the time who made that sound. That really just triggered me. I thought, oh, I'd like to make that sound. And I haven't seen a sample of it anywhere. You know what I mean?
I'll go back and listen. I don't
When
remember that.
the baton hits Alex. Yeah.
I don't remember it, but I only remember the title song.
Oh, yeah. Some lovely stuff in Clockwork Orange.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a scene where they try to drown him in the horse trough. Was the
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
one. They're just getting beat up on him. Yeah, others, of course, Forbidden Planet, if you remember that one, it's some kind of animation. Very nice.
amazing stuff. The Barons.
Yeah. I can't think of any others right now. Probably my mind's going a bit with this beer.
There's interesting stuff too if you guys follow more space nerdy stuff. The Voyager probes that went out to go around the major gas giants and so forth, and they carried the excuse me, not only a diagram of showing the pulsars in relative to our position, these major pulsars as like a map to find us, but also drawing of human figures to scale along with the probe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was an album included, a gold record included with it, and it had everything from some Beethoven, some Bach, some like pygmy music on there, some Aboriginal music, just a smattering of Earth's various music styles on the disc. So, and they have instructions how to, in case the aliens couldn't figure it out, how to create the record player to play it. This is kind of funny, but no, as far as I could tell, no electronic music on there. All the classical stuff is not like Wendy Carlos stuff realized or Tomita and that kind of stuff. But yeah, lots of great stuff on the album just to represent Earth.
Yeah, just continue, Andy. You are usually good
Okay.
at it.
I didn't want to go too nerdy about that stuff, but it's just funny because we're expecting aliens, alien life forms that may even be, who knows in the future, there might be some silicon-based life forms out there. Nobody knows. But they're going to get this thing and go, what the F do I do with this thing? And one of these weird drawings on here, because their visual system might be different. The auditory system might be totally different. So, I mean, it could be frequencies they don't like, or they don't appreciate, or don't even really hear properly. So they might have bad hearing.
Yeah, I mean, all our recent science is based on things we can't hear or see.
Exactly.
Yeah. It should work.
I actually bought one of those bat detectors that downsamples the 100 kilohertz or 80 kilohertz bat sounds into audible range. You can record them and play with them and stuff. It's pretty fun. A lot of good tech out there.
Yeah, I'm thinking of getting one of those 1010, the Tangerine one, which isn't quite out yet.
Oh yeah.
The sampler. I'm not really so interested in granular, so I just want something I can make my own kind of mellotron sounds with my own recorder and whatever.
Well, it's funny because granular's actually been around a long time before people realized what they were doing. For example, this program here, Sample Toy on the iOS, is a real quick way to show it. Testing 1, 2. You can basically grab your waveform, take the tiniest little bit of it, and just loop it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's like the V-synth. I did
Yeah.
a lot of V-synth sounds as well right at the beginning.
And then you add, delay effects to it and stuff, and then it's really fun. Hold on.
Yeah, I did have my fun with the elastic audio, but I went back to virtual analog.
Yeah. So Grander's been around a long time. It's just now made a lot more easier to use and also a lot more powerful with extra features and something like Borderlands on the iPad or whatever with multiple playheads and directional controls, and takes it way out of the box instead of a regular program. It's really, really wild stuff.
I do like to play my sounds with keyboard though, because I'm mainly a keyboard player.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Touching the sticky glass is not really my thing.
I have to use various things because I'm not a great keys player, so I have to make up for it with other toys.
This is the fortunate side of MIDI controllers.
Exactly, yeah. Pads and glass and even cool
well,
stuff like this.
I tend to
wind
just
synth.
plug my iPad up with MIDI controllers and play them.
That's my master keyboard at the moment because I'm doing MPE sounds for our stuff. The Osmos, yeah.
Nice. I love my Osmos.
You got one as well? Yeah, they're great, aren't they?
Yeah.
You're doing MPE patches for Zebra?
Not for Zebra is old technology. We can't really do that. But for the newer ones, yeah, Diva and Hive and Basil and AC. Yeah.
Go.
Well, just a few.
I got a chance to play with the montage, and not to go too far off track here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and
nice.
I did play that. And I was disappointed in the fact that I felt like a lot of the poly aftertouch patches felt kind of rushed, or like maybe not necessarily the best mappings for, or at least not what I would have chosen for it for playability's sake.
Have they slowed the release down? The release of your aftertouch?
I didn't mess too much with that, but it was more like what the destinations were and that sort of thing, and it just kind of the more you start playing with like poly aftertouch, obviously I'm doing that a lot, but you start to realize like, okay, well, like pitch isn't always necessarily the best thing to add to that, and and then there's like the obvious stuff where people want to add like volume swells and that kind of stuff. But really it's more timbre changes that I find are more interesting, or increasing modulation amounts and that sort of thing is really beautiful.
If you do pitch, instead of controlling pitch with the aftertouch, if you do oscillator phase, it always kind of balances itself out until
and for pitch, what I tend to kind of prefer is instead of just doing a pitch amount to a poly aftertouch, what I prefer is doing something like an LFO to a pitch and then the modulation amount, doing it that way. So you're adding in a vibrato amount. I'll control things like filter cutoff and all directly. And then that translates really well to wiggling your finger and that sort of thing. But I did like the fact that they've evolved their user interface with that second screen. That secondary screen, which for the price point, I still didn't love the fact that like the screen had ghosting and whatnot in it. Like I felt like it maybe could have been a little bit higher quality screen on there, but I love the fact, like, I'm a huge proponent of scribble strips on controllers and synthesizers and anything digital, because I'm like, I don't want to, and there's no reason why I should have to guess what anything is mapped to ever. Like screens, put them there with the knob so that I always know what is what, and seeing that on there, I was like, this is like, I still kind of really like the phantom sounds. But man, like I just hope, what was it? The original Novation SL had scribble strips both for the faders and for the knobs. And then later, I think it was the SL2, they got rid of the scribble strip for one of them. I can't remember if it was the fader or the knob, but like only half of it had the scribble strip.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, like give that back.
That's why I bought the original, because I wanted the extra. Yeah, I'd never want to guess what I'm looking at. Like I should never have a controller and be like, oh, what did I have this map to? No, it should just tell me. And so seeing that on there made me very happy. But yeah, sorry, I sidetracked. That's
no, I know what you mean though. A lot of the aftertouch on the montage, new montage, is it's got that kind of, like I say, it's that kind of two-dimensional thinking. The aftertouch and mounts have a very steep curve, and it's always 0 to max. There's no, can we just have, half?
Yeah, you have to have like a
Yeah.
subtle to get that expression, because you're already dealing with a transient of hitting a key, and then you want to like have subtle expression there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they didn't provide enough curves to manage that, or it's just physically so shallow you can't do
I think it might be a sound design thing, in my opinion. Like,
it is, because I mean the action is fine. There's nothing wrong with the action. This is probably
Felt
one
nice.
of
I tried a Guitar Center yesterday.
Oh
It
yeah,
was really cool.
It's one of the best 88 noters I played in a long time, and it's just that all the patches, every single patch is like, oh, well, I'll come back to this one and I'll change that curve. That's too harsh, or it's not enough, or it's doing this, or it's doing that. I go, no, that'd be better if it was doing vibrato type action rather than filter. And there's a lot where they do the super knob, and I go, well, that's fine, except I don't need that because I put the super knob onto an expression controller along with the expression controller for the volume. I got that covered, thanks. So I've got to go in there and sort of like redo the sounds again.
I highly suspect that there'll be an update to their sound library on there, like that kind of adds more of those sorts of patches and cleans things up, and that's. I just have that gut feeling when I played it that okay, like maybe this feature came in later, or whatever, like because sound design is always like difficult because it's the end stage of a synth's product development. Because you have to wait until everything is at least stable enough, and then it's like, well, we need to ship. So it's like, I get it, but that was just kind of my knee jerk reaction on that.
The thing is, Ken, though, I know you're in the room and everything, but I got the Roly Rise there, I got the Osmos here, I got the M8X there, and a real CS80 over there. But the Hydrosynth Deluxe, the way the poly aftertouch works on the Hydrosynth Deluxe, mate, and the way it sounds and everything, nailed.
I would still like the release of the aftertouch to make it slower.
You want a slower, longer, a longer time for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm bummed I can't do it on the 49. I understand why, but it's like, I wish I could do that on the 49.
Well, you could do release, but I think you're talking about velocity off, and he's talking about aftertouch release.
I'm talking about aftertouch.
I see.
When you got, say, vibrato on aftertouch, you don't want the vibrato to suddenly cut out when you release the pressure on the key, that kind of thing, or the cutoff,
Yeah, I think right now it is. I'm just double checking what the max length is, just because I'm curious myself. I forget these things. Where was it at? Here it is. So like I actually keep mine fairly short. I keep mine at about 75 to 90 milliseconds. But you can go up to 400 milliseconds for the aftertouch release. I personally keep it like a slight trail off. And I tend to do more of that with my own finger. But it also depends on what kind of patches you like you primarily play. If you're playing patches with really long releases, then I absolutely can see how that comes into play. If you're playing things with releases that are like 2-3 second long releases, especially, then
Yeah.
Anyway, sci-fi.
Sorry about that.
What science fiction movie where you noticed a synthesizer? What movie was it?
Was it Barbarella that I'm thinking of, where she's laying in the thing and
it's playing her?
Yes!
I know the woman. I know the woman with those kind of erotic sighs.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
And she was in the band that I was with. Gong? I joined them in 2000, and she told me that she was the sound of the woman in the Orgasmatron. That was her
Yeah,
name.
Orgasmatron.
That scene is imprinted in my brain, and like I feel like maybe that
Yeah, as a young
shows my
kid,
age
right?
a little bit. I'm probably the youngest guy here that would remember that. That's for sure. But I don't think younger viewers know too much about Barbarella.
I didn't see it till I was in high school, and it just immediately hit me like, oh, the bad guy's name is Duran Duran. The little Lost Boys had the hair like Duran Duran. This is where they got their stuff from. This is Duran Duran.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it from my dad when I was a kid, and he would like tell me stories about how it was. I guess it was like X-rated or something when it came out, and like so I didn't really have any concept of it. But I saw
a little bit of nudity. It wasn't that rough, you know.
Yeah, but for the time that it came out, I believe it was.
I mean, Midnight Cowboy got an X rating, but
yeah, this was. I'm pretty sure that when it released, it was either X-rated or maybe the first R-rated or something to that effect. I don't know, but I'm speaking to a time that was before me. I was born in 1980, for context.
In fact, in Europe, when Dawn of the Dead came out in '78, it was an X rating.
so yeah, and I just remember hearing stories about this. So like, I searched it out when I was in my teens, and I was in like my Evil Dead phase of like, you know, I loved all these campy B movies and stuff like that, and I found that, and when I saw that scene, I was just like, yep, that's it. That's where I need to be.
Yeah.
Invasion of Killer Tomatoes. Yeah, I now remember what my first sci-fi stuff where I thought that's a weird sound, and that was Doctor Who, the original series on black and white telly, 1960 something.
Yeah.
Scared me shitless, to be honest.
Yeah.
I grew up on Star Trek reruns on TV, and great sounds in there too. I actually have many years ago they had a Star Trek sound effects CD you could buy. So all the bridge sounds and all the ambient noises and stuff, and the music was all orchestral pretty much, but it made a big impression on me. That and Outer Limits, because there's just some whacked out sound effects in there.
Yeah.
First time I think I heard a frequency shifter and a ring modulator and stuff. I didn't know about Doctor Who back then. I knew about Twilight Zone and Outer Limits and Lost in Space and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I pretty much grew up with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And it's past modulation on a VCS3 to do the Dalek voice.
Yeah.
And it took years. It was years. For years and years, I thought it was a vocoder.
Yeah.
And then when I started restoring VCS3s, I'm going, hang on a minute, there's something very familiar about this. Hang on a second. Because, you know, VCS3s, it's a voodoo doll, basically, with 3 VCOs. You just stick pins in it and it just reacts.
Yeah, Synthia was my first synth. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And, and then I got, right, okay, you could hear it doing it to the VCOs, and you know, plug the microphone in the back and then just talk over the top of it. I'm thinking, yeah, Dalek. Yeah, brilliant.
I know what word you spoke as well. Was it exterminate by any chance?
Well, I needed a wash, so it was exfoliate.
Exfoliate.
Yeah.
Exacerbate. Yeah.
Exacerbate. Yeah. Congregate. Yeah, all the different ones. So, and it made a nice change to be doing it like that rather than hiding behind the settee, which is my original. You know, that's the proper way to watch Doctor Who. It was when you were a kid, was from behind the settee. So. Cybermen, not so much, because they were humanoid, as it were. So there was a kind of relationship there. But
I found them very scary, actually, the Cybermen.
Yeah. Daleks though, they bought my.
Yeah, but all you have to do is go upstairs to get away from the Daleks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, until they gave them those bleeding hover motor things. But my dad had a dreadful sense of humour, a really, really, really good sense of humour, which is where I probably got it from. But he bought me a Clockwork Dalek for my birthday and left it in my room, and I wouldn't go in my room.
It's that damn plunger. It's trying to get you with that plunger.
So, in fairness, you know, I kind of got used to it. So he bought me this battery operated one, which is nearly 2 foot high, and that was it. I'm done. I couldn't get in it. I couldn't deal with it. So, but yeah, that a lot of radiophonic workshop stuff permeated through into a lot of the early BBC programs, and this is where you get to hear, manipulation of tape and whatever the latest, greatest bit of kit that's been invented comes out. The BBC would get it and they'd start using it. So
apparently, Delia Derbyshire didn't like synthesizers at all.
Yeah, I think I read that something. Yeah.
Talk about chopping up tape and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, up until that point, that was the way to do it.
Yeah, music concrete.
None of this newfangled electronic stuff. Yeah. So
I collect early music concrete vinyl, and I started like many years ago when I was just record digging for making hip hop beats and whatnot, and I stumbled on some of that stuff, and I kind of again brought it back to my dad, and I was like, "Hey, check this stuff out that I found," and he's like, "Oh yeah," and started kind of schooling me on some of that stuff, and yeah, I go back and I listen to like the way that effects were used on those albums, and spring and plate reverbs, and interesting tape splicing, and I still go back to a lot of that stuff and find that the way that those tapes were organized and whatnot is so refreshing to listen to nowadays, because it's not it's loop based, but it's not loop based on a grid. It has these weird off angles and whatnot to them that are really kind of refreshing to listen to if you're so used to working in a computer or on a lockstep grid. Even when you try to push stuff off grid, there's always this quantization happening, and that stuff was all recorded with tape and to tape and all that kind of stuff, and then with acoustic sound sources and electronic sound sources to tape. Really just inspiring stuff to listen to.
Yeah.
It's funny, all this talk of space stuff and going to planetarium shows as a youth, all the way up to being some kind of an adult, I suppose. They often used classical music in planetarium shows, especially Host the Planets, because it's very powerful and evocative and stuff, so much so that Star Wars lifted it for the most part. But yeah, it's shocking with considering how old Forbidden Planet is, and lots of other synthy type, sound effecty type stuff on TV and sci-fi TV shows and fantasy TV shows, that they didn't start using that in the actual presentations in the planetariums until you had Laserium. Then they started doing some custom shows with the lasers and different kinds of wacky music. But they stayed kind of stiff and stuck in their ways with classical music, which I'm happy with. I love classical music, but you would think they would embrace the more weirdo sci-fi kind of sounds that can make you think of space.
Where I grew up, there was a lot of like Pink Floyd stuff that was being played at planetariums.
Definitely, yeah.
And that stuff was always really well, if I'm being completely honest, in high school it was a whole psychedelic craze going on as well. So there was that aspect of it. But that kind of led a lot of people to kind of discover more of like what was creating those sounds behind the music. And instead of, a lot of the times it's like we would listen to this stuff and you would hear synthesizers and keyboards and things in the background of rock music, but it wasn't always in the forefront so much, and it wasn't always the primary thing you were listening to. You were shown the lead guitarist and the lead singer and the bassist and that kind of thing, but the keyboardist guy was always kind of in the corner,
Yeah.
And when that stuff started kind of going on, and again, for me, being a kid from the 80s, around that same time was also like the early time of techno and stuff was starting to hit the States in a kind of different way. And so there was this whole kind of rave culture starting to crop up. And a lot of that was tied very deeply to like the sci-fi stuff. When you would go to these shows, a lot of the times they'd be projecting old sci-fi movies
clips,
on them and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, and those Parliament Funkadelic and stuff like that, all kind of sci-fi themed bands, not only Pink Floyd.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, George Clinton is from another planet, I think. So,
And I
met
got
first
really
time.
big into Sun Ra, like probably in the late '90s, early 2000s. I got really big into Sun Ra and like Space is the Place and all that kind of stuff, and that really kind of gave me a whole eye-opening understanding of what electronics could be in that context. Also, just for the record, you guys have this whole thing of Doctor Who, which my family is a huge Doctor Who fan, but we didn't come on to Doctor Who until much later. It was not nearly as big in the States.
We had on
us,
public
it was
television here.
Star
That was
Trek.
it. It wasn't anywhere else. You know, it
Yeah,
was like,
for us, it was Star Trek, and you know, I can remember like the transporter sounds and the what do you call the medical, the tricorder and all that kind of
the
stuff.
door opening noise is a nail gun in reverse.
Yeah, all of that stuff. All of that stuff was just like, you know, I can remember those sounds were so like embedded in my youth.
Yeah, when I got that Star Trek sound effects CD that came out, the official one, I started loading to my SK1 because that's the only sampler I had at the time.
I had the same one.
Reversing all the sounds and playing with it. I go, oh, that's how they did that sound, you know. And
matter of fact, when I have on the wall here, I have an Emax 1. And when I got it, it came with a case and it had a whole big thing of discs. And like half those discs are Star Trek sounds.
Yeah. There's some good ones in there.
Yeah, we got the best of both worlds because we got Star Trek here and we had Doctor Who, and so and
we had The Prisoner.
We had The Prisoner as
great.
well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and mind you, I mean, sometimes I started becoming such a fan of sounds that were not from conventional instruments. My dad bought me a record of classical pieces, but all related some way to space. So it'd be 2001's Odyssey, Space Odyssey on it, stuff like that. And it had what I can only assume was just a very, very early noise generator on it to do wind. And I used to listen to this track over and over again because it had a noise generator. Even though I didn't know what I wouldn't know what a noise generator was if it fell out of a tree on me at that time. I'd be 9, 10, something like that. But anything that had weird sounds on it, and I was all over it like a cheap suit. So,
my wife hates
when we will probably remember this. Back in the 70s, right? We're old enough. If you owned a synthesizer and you told somebody that I got a synthesizer, I played synthesizers, you were the weirdest person on the planet.
I was, yeah.
Yeah. People thought I was mental.
We were.
Yeah, well, fortunately, yeah. Yeah, we were sort of like, we just try, he plays music, or tries to play music on this weird thing he's got.
Yeah. Well, we played a Windsor Festival in 1974 from 2:00 in the morning until 8 in the morning, improvising stuff, and people would jump on stage and kind of join in.
Yeah,
saxophone, violin, whatever. It's so weird it was.
We have to get Christophe into the discussion too. And by the way, I found this. It's Christophe in the wheelchair. It's from Snydersladen.
Yeah.
Those who do Super Booth.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about this.
Christophe, you got that crackling again.
You're becoming a Dalek.
What?
Yeah. The static noise.
Yeah.
Do I have to go out and to come back again?
Perhaps if you try to go into settings and choose something else for your auto interface and go back. No. Perhaps it's enough.
Yeah, as long as you leave the video up, you won't drop. You have to have at least 1 second.
I will check this. Is this better, maybe?
Yeah, now it's gone.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because this is the mic of my MacBook.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but if you return to the previous setting, it may work now. Sometimes
but
it's enough
okay
just
for
to
me.
switch.
It's the same, because then I don't have to
Yeah, and how you're muted.
after the batteries of the microphone. So yeah, I was thinking about this subject with science fiction synthesizers, and on one hand, I'm really a synthesizer fan. On the other hand, also science fiction fan. But I didn't get both together in means of, what was the moment watching a science fiction movie where I thought, oh, this synthesizer music is awesome. So to me, just as one person said in the comments, is that the most soundtracks of science fiction movies were actually orchestral music. And often the synthesizers were just limited to special sound effects, like the opening doors or the aliens landing or spaceships passing by. And then at a second thought, I think that the first synthesizer soundtracks came up with, kind of cheaper movies. Like, for example, one of my favorite movies is Dark Star from John Carpenter.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
I think in this one there might be some synthesizer sounds, but I
Well, it
think
would be
there also
definitely
country
John
music and stuff like this in it. And yeah, and then later on in the later 70s and the early 80s, sometimes there were very cheap movies with, kind of complete synthetic soundtracks that, that were not really good compared to the orchestral soundtracks that people had, had in their ears.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the old sci-fi stuff. There's tons of black and white sci-fi 50s and other 60s movies that had some kind of classic recordings made and then became part of a library. And then even Night of the Living Dead used a bunch of that for their soundtrack, which is very synthetic in a lot of places, and gave a next level creepiness to the thing, even though it was music from a sci-fi movie. But there's one called Teenagers from Outer Space where they're harvesting giant. They're coming to Earth because they didn't find enough life forms from space because they're that stupid. They couldn't figure it out until they landed. And so they're going to, we got to harvest our giant gargan herds, which are really just, crayfish in a tank, but they shot it in such a way so it made it look giant. And they said, we're going to raise them on Earth and dominate the planet. And there's all kinds of great sci-fi music in there. And some of that was used on Night of the Living Dead as well, which is pretty funny. So a lot of recycling when it comes to sci-fi music.
You know who the composers were? Just nameless people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course there's Henrik's favorite, the Liquid Sky, that soundtrack.
Favorite.
Yeah.
It was weird. I like weird stuff, but it was weird.
It's a super low budget, weird alien movie in the 80s, made primarily on a Fairlight. So considering that the budget is almost nothing, somehow the guy knew a guy with a Fairlight, which is not cheap. That's probably the most expensive part of the whole movie was the score. So funny stuff.
We've lost Ken. He's disappeared.
Uh-oh.
Nope, there he is.
Nope, no. I'm over here like digging into my vinyl collection, finding my John Cage and my Buchla. And again, ADD. So like as I'm listening, I'm like digging through vinyl and pulling out records. Yeah. No, the other thing about sci-fi sound design is just like, you listen to it in a movie. And I kind of think the goal is to not have you overly focus on like, hey, what was that created on? And more like have it fit the moment. the
Fits the mood,
vibe of
yeah.
the situation. Like
Yep.
you don't want it to take you out of the experience, but being audio people, it's like we can't help but be overly involved and you know, absorbed by that kind of thing. So it's like I can think of many a nights where I would have just like, again, like I love B movies, so I would just have like these movies on in the background, and it's like every once in a while you hear something that catches your ear, and you're like, oh well, now I have to recreate that sound. And I can't tell you how many times like I'll go and hear a sound in a movie, and I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how to do that, and I might not maybe not even do it the exact same way that they did it, but like maybe I'll synthesize it, or maybe I don't know if you guys have done this or not, but like I've built so many absurd contraptions that just like look a hot mess, but just to make weird sounds. So like I'll take like PVC tube and like, you know, put string and springs in there, and then I'll buy like really cheap transducers or rip apart headphones and like put them on them just to kind of like recreate sounds and stuff like that.
Have you kept any of them?
What's that?
Have you kept any of those devices?
I'll grab a couple right now. Hold on.
Okay. I
mean,
never
some of
got
that
into building stuff. No.
Some of that stuff you can make from the toys and stuff. Rip
Yeah.
apart toys. My favorite is the 5-tone tube. It's that corrugated, flexible tube, and you spin it, and the faster you spin it, you get the different harmonics.
Yeah.
And then you sample that, and then you can go
Like
crazy
that.
on that. So
Yeah, I'd done that as well.
yeah,
Sampled it onto the Mirage.
The bull roarer as well. Quite
the Bull Roar, yeah, is the original idea of
Yeah.
that, but this is the tonic version where it's like
No,
harmonics.
there's those vehicles in Blade Runner, the second one, the new one.
Hmm.
It's actually made with bull roarers, real bull roarers.
Yeah.
That's part of the sound.
Yeah, that's a cool sound.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to run across my basement. This is just one stupid example of like, again, really haphazard ridiculousness. So this is just like a
Cigar box.
wooden box that you would get from like any hobby store or whatever.
Mhm.
And then you see I have some jacks on here. But if you open it up inside here, I've got like springs and a speaker,
Wow.
right?
Mm.
And
That's
then
a Como
I
field
bought,
kit, home style.
yeah, this is not something like designed to be a product for anyone or anything like that. It's just for me. And then like I'll hot glue a contact mic in here to the other side of the spring and like, you know, do that in here. And then I can, and I even put a USB interface into it as well. And then I can like throw marbles into here or like hit the box or, you know, kind of do whatever. And just like, it makes no sense, but it's fun. Like again, it's not like a product kind of thing. It's just like hey, I want to make weird noises. So I'll build stuff like this on a weekend, just like kind of. And I have things that look way worse than this too.
Well, yeah, you probably at the time couldn't find something like that to buy, so it's necessity is a mother of invention. So you just
like I did this one that's a I had a real desire for a spring reverb, and I couldn't find any, and I certainly couldn't find any that I could afford. And I'm a cheapskate, so I took PVC pipe, and I got springs, and I got contact mics, and like headphone, you know, that I used as a transducer and put it on there. But what was cool about it is I put it on, I took two old, like, I don't know, they were like AOL CDs or something, right? On either end. So you could lift the CD to change the tension of the spring. So you could get different sounds out of it that way. And then you could slap the side of it and like, you know, get different, like, you know, you get that, that spacey kind of thundery type sound and all of that, but you could also play music through it at the same time. And just
I found by accident as a kid different densities of styrofoam. Yeah, you get all this packing junk and these blocks and stuff. And if you take a solid wire, not a paper clip, but a solid long, you know, medium gauge wire, and dangle it and bang it into stuff, you get these. It acts as an amplifier, and you get these amazing sound effects. Not as good as the Star Wars hit the guy wire, get the blaster sound, or the lightsaber clashing sound or whatever. But you get pretty cool, weird stuff, and then you could just run that through effects or mic it or whatever. They even had toys you could buy. it's funny. It was this one toy I never found one since, but it's a tube, like a poster tube you would ship stuff in, and on either end are Dixie cups inserted with a spring inside. So you basically made a little spring reverb toy, and one kid could get on one end and yell into it, and the other kid could hear like the reverb chamber on the other end. But it also cut a hole in the side, so you could also pluck the spring and go dong, 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 dong. And that was just a stupid toy, and it made these amazing sound effects. It was great. Yeah. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Ken.
That's the thing I love about spring reverbs is like the being hands-on with them and like touching things you're not supposed to. I mean, same with like vinyl records. You're not supposed to touch the record, but it's so much fun when you start slowing things down and warping them and all that. Yep. I have you can't see it back here, but my modular is behind me. And at the top of my modular, I have some oscilloscopes, and then behind that, I have 2 reverb tanks, and I built like a little custom switch so I can switch between different reverb tank lengths. And I'm actually, as of last week, I've decided I'm going to do 2 more of those because I want to do them in stereo so that I can kind of mix and match like a long reverb on the left and a short reverb on the right and vice versa and that kind of stuff. But I keep them sitting kind of on top so that if I want to smack them, I can.
And Coma's smart because the Coma Field Kit spring reverb that comes with it, the tank is open. So you can also pluck the springs. You can drop marbles in, like you said, or you can put like a servo in there and go.
As I was looking up to do the 2 more reverbs, I found that you remember who is it? Dreadbox did a box that's called the Hypnosis, I think, something like that. And they had one that was, you know, it's a spring reverb, and then it's got like a Bucket Brigade delay or something, or maybe it's a 2399 or something. But it's got like a little delay in it and all that. And I guess those things went away, and now they have a V2, but they have a DIY kit for it as well. So you could just buy the parts, and I think it's only like $300. Like it's dirt cheap for that thing. So I have a strong feeling I'm going to end up with one of those as well, because that looks really cool.
Yeah, I remember seeing something at Super Booth, which was a module, just a typical Euro rack module, but with the kind of wire sticking out of it. Does that ring a bell? Something?
Oh,
I know some kind of had some stuff like that too. Yeah, the sound garden thing.
Yeah.
And there was another one that was kind of like that too. Plus, there's also the thing that Mutable did, where they had like it's basically a contact mic built onto the panel, and you can kind of like scrape it and do that sort of stuff. When you run that through a spring reverb, it sounds really eerie and fun. But all this stuff kind of lends itself to those sci-fi sounds that we kind of grew up with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's called mutable ears.
Yeah, mutable ears, exactly. Yeah. And there's been people who've obviously like knocked off, you know, through fair use or whatever. And
I've seen a few.
Yeah.
The Error Instruments guy makes a lot of fun stuff like that.
Yeah, Error Instruments is like DIY for not even for the masses, for just for the nerds. it's
long
great
before he
stuff.
got real fancy with this stuff, I bought one of his early modules. It was literally just a panel, a spring stretched across, and a contact mic in the back, like not a contact mic, a transducer, piezo transducer. And then you change different springs to get different tones, and you can scrape it or you can pluck it. But the problem is he made the original panel out of plastic, and you put a taut spring on there, and it goes, and now your module's bowing. So
I got a module that's bowing like that anyway, just from really poor quality, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Well, he wanted to make it like a cool purple plastic panel that was a shocking color, but it's like the gauge of the plastic is too thin. It can't handle the stress. So
well, I've gotten into doing like 3D printing, and I'm starting to experiment with different box shapes and whatnot. I had the idea to I built this studio not all that long ago, and it's in my house. But when I built it, I knocked down one of the walls in my house. Like, so where I'm sitting right now is part of my garage actually, and then part of it goes into my basement. So this wall right here that my synths are mounted to, the other side of it's not even finished, right? Like there's insulation there, and it's like 6 inches thick and all. But then the other side, I didn't put any drywall up yet, right? Because I'm lazy. Point being is my thought is the other side is the garage, and all that's kept in there is like a few lawn things and like some bikes and stuff for my kids. But the idea is I think what I want to do is I want to build a plate reverb into my wall on that side. And because there's already insulation and everything there, it shouldn't cause any problem over here. But I just want to put 2 jacks in my wall and like have a giant plate reverb inside of my wall. And it's like, why not? Right? Like nobody else is going to know that it's there. My wife doesn't even have to know. Like I just have a giant plate reverb built into the wall.
You can also build a giant tank on the other end of the wall too. Reverb tank.
Yeah. I've done things like so I did 20 years as a HVAC technician, right? So I have all these like refrigerant tanks and cylinders and stuff, and I took what do you call them, like grinders, and I cut them and I made like tong drums out of them. And then I started cutting the bottoms out and then attaching springs inside of it. Like I love springs, man. Springs are just reverberation. I think is one of the coolest things, as long as it's not like unintended, like on my damn Electron Rhythm MK2 where you tap on the thing and the whole thing sounds like a spring reverb. But yeah, like so just attaching springs to things and getting those
tongue drums that are like gas tank drums. Have you seen those?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So like I just cut the tongs into it, and then I tried my best to tune it, and then like kind of even bend them a little bit to get them as close to tune as possible. We'll just call it micro tuning, okay? Because it definitely was not in tune.
That's fun though. You want those sometimes, those weird timbres.
Yeah, and what I would do is I would multi-sample them, right, and put them into like my own little contact instruments, and then I could like kind of fine tune the pitch inside of contact from there. You know what I mean? Like that's easier than sitting there hour after hour trying to file this makeshift tong drum into tune.
It gives you a lot of respect for those steel drum guys.
Oh, I've wanted that shit out one of those. You know those hang instruments.
Yeah, I have a really cheap kind of hand pan, the hang drum thing.
I sat on a waiting list for like 3 years for one of those things, and then I finally just gave up and started making those little tong drum things. But they're also like absurdly expensive for the really even the pan versions are really expensive. But my wife will kill me if I buy that, but I really want one.
But you can't really muffle it, so you should stop making all that racket with that thing.
Yeah, that's when I built this place, it's all like 6 inches thick with insulation all the way around. So I can be quite loud in here even at like good. 3 a.m, and luckily I'm okay.
That's funny.
But yeah, so what would you guys say is like the most prominent sound? Like the most, like when someone says sci-fi sound effect, what's like the number one thing that comes to mind?
Theremin.
Yeah. Isn't it?
It's kind of got to be at this point.
I mean, yeah.
It's the original and best kind of scenario, isn't it?
What was that spoof sci-fi thing about where the aliens' heads explode at the end? What was that called?
Mars Attacks?
Mars
Attacks. They played the record?
The way they used the theremin was just perfect. Yeah.
Well, it's also Slim Whitman's voice is basically dangerous to aliens, so...
That movie is so great. That movie is criminally slept on.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. It's pretty accurate, too. If you look at the old Topps trading cards that was based on, they're pretty close to those original artwork.
Yeah. I've seen them.
Yeah. Pretty fun stuff. Yeah, theremin is like... Well, the funny thing is, I think the first actual film use of a theremin was Lost Weekend with Ray Milland, where he's an alcoholic. And he starts having this trip out moment in the bathroom, and just to kind of unsettle people. And then all these like sci-fi nerds got wind of it. Go, that is awesome! What the hell is going on there? Because the theremin's from the 30s, but it just wasn't really used by anyone seriously for a long time. And then finally, all these guys started. Every sci-fi movie had some theremin stuff in it.
It's because you couldn't play it in tune. Yeah. I think.
Well, unless you're Clara Rockmore and a handful of other people, you pretty much couldn't.
Yeah. But the old Martineau, for instance, that was very, very similar in sound. But because of the tactile thing, because you're actually touching a rail, you can actually play the thing in tune. So
there's also the tannerin. So the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations is not a theremin; it's a tannerin. And it's like an on Martineau, but there's no keyboard. You're just running up and down a wire, kind of like the Trautonium from Deptford, but it's not a ribbon. It's just a wire.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was for. I thought it sounds like a theremin, but I've never seen them play it. Finally, in one of the Beach Boys videos, you can see the guy playing it, and it's this guy Tanner basically made it. It's called the Tannerin.
Interesting. I'll look it up.
Also, keep in mind that back when the theremin was invented, vinyl records weren't even a thing. So, you know what I mean? Like the
shellac,
yeah. And vinyl, like the long play vinyl, didn't actually come out till like maybe 1940, something like that. So, yeah, like that, the reproduction of music like that was, you know, especially in the home, like you might get it over AM radio, but even then it's like AM radio was short throw and kind of not the highest quality, you know. So, but the sound that always stands out to me is the sound of the TIE fighters in Star Wars. Is like every time I hear it, it sends chills up my spine. I think it's like the most unsettlingly awesome sound.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the lightsabers in those movies, that sound.
Lightsaber's cool.
Yeah.
Another fun thing about the theremin too is it was a beautiful piece of furniture. I mean, RCA built the original ones with the giant vacuum tubes and stuff, and they had one at the Exploratorium in San Francisco for years. I don't know if it's still there. One of the original ones, probably from the 40s, and it's a beautiful instrument, just sitting there. It's not as the new Clarivox that Moog made is even prettier, but the original giant boxy kind of Moog, I'm not Moog, the RCA theremin was just a beautiful piece of furniture. You know, nice wood and everything. Oh, cats on synthesizers in space.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the other thing is what is it called? The Ben Franklin one, the glass harmonium.
Yeah.
That's another really
glass organ.
Yeah, that's another really ethereal kind of sound that I love for that sort of stuff. And there's a guy up in Philly who kind of tours around with one of those things and does demonstrations of it. And to hear that thing, glass harmonica, that's right, Jack. That is one of the sounds that, like, when you hear it in person, it's pretty shocking. There was a thing at Super Booth.
There was, yeah.
And they had like reverberation panels, and it was really directional sound. So like if you walk to the side, you didn't really hear it, but if you got right in front of it, that was really cool. I love stuff like that.
That is cool. I was doing a wacky just for fun stream a couple months ago with a bunch of weird effects, kind of sci-fi, noisy kind of stuff. And got out the wine glass and was running it through reverbs and delays and stuff. And it's really fun, even just a simple wine glass. Everyone just does the wah, wah, wah kind of thing. But if you drag your finger and get the kind of a distorted drag and then run that through stuff, it's awesome. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I love like self-resonant filters so much, when you get them at that slightly just slightly off pitch of where your oscillator is, and everything kind of starts to saturate in this kind of crazy way. It's just, that's one. It's so similar to that sort of sound, and where it's just saturated and harmonics everywhere.
Soft sync as well. You can get some very interesting things in between, where it's just about, it wants to sync but doesn't quite make it, you know. And if I remember rightly, my Synthy had a mod for soft sync between each of the oscillators.
I'm having a Eisnen built right now by a friend of mine, and that's one of the mods that I'm having installed in it as well. So that should be fun. I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Mind you, if you want really weird sounds, take an ARP 2600 and adjust the power supply to 5 volt on the 15 volt line and minus 18 on the minus line. And then just try to use it normally. And it goes so weird.
So you're getting like power sapping going on?
Yeah, all sorts of stuff going. It's almost like part of the circuitry is trying to work backwards.
And that's one of the things that like guitar pedal companies have started really utilizing is power sapping, because
Yeah.
they started finding like different distortion pedals work
Funny things,
different
yeah.
ways at when the
Yeah.
battery starts dying and that sort of thing. And you start seeing that incorporated directly into the pedals. And I don't really think you see that in like Eurorack modules. At least not that
I think I saw a
can think of.
Starvation module in Eurorack. I think I could
Yeah?
have sworn I saw one. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I think
Probably a homebrew thing, but
that's a pretty cool idea right there, is to
Yeah.
do some starving stuff, because yeah, you can definitely get. I used to do that with going back talking about the SK1, like that thing would do all kinds of weird things when it would get really low on power, and that was the first keyboard I ever had as a kid. I think I got that when I was like maybe 9 or 10.
the
And
first one I had was an MT500 with the drum pads.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered, and this is like the Atari trick, where I discovered if you play with the power thing, you could go into glitch mode and like hack games and stuff. But on the MT500, if you're just, innocently plugging in the power with the power button turned on, and it goes, it kind of does this little noise. And occasionally I could get it to do an arpeggio. And it, not just an arpeggio, but a distorted arpeggio. And it sounded, I only have a couple recordings on cassette from it. And for a while, after a while, I couldn't do it again. But it's probably damaging the instrument. But you put it in this weird ass mode, and it would do this crazy arpeggiator patterns, and it didn't have an arpeggiator. So it was so weird.
There is a guy that goes by the name Reed Ghazala.
Yeah, he's on Facebook. He's amazing.
So I got turned on to his stuff probably very early 2000s, maybe like 2000, 2002, somewhere around there. And he's kind of credited, I guess, as like
the circuit bending.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like he was like the guy who started circuit bending and everything. And
did you see his Eleotron? It's the SK1 totally tricked out.
I've seen different ones. So I've seen like there was a guy named, what was his name, Circuit Beast or something, that used to do those back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I can remember those. I've never been able to find a SK1 at a reasonable price ever since then. And that drives me nuts, because I'm like, I refuse to pay $200 for an SK1. Yeah. Like, it's just not going to happen. Even though it's like the synthesizer of my youth, I'm just not doing that. But I would always like get all these like stupid speaking spells and any kind of electronic device that would make sound. And you just go in there and start licking your fingers and touching stuff. Try and break it and make weird sounds. And now I've got like Yamaha drum machines that I've circuit bent and that sort of thing. But those things they're great for making like sci-fi sounds and robots and all that kind of weird stuff. Cause you get like, especially speech chip synthesizer things where they have like
Paul Schreiber stuff's amazing. I have the modular version of that stuff.
Yeah, he had the Speak and Spell module.
Yeah, I had 2 modules. And they're both wonderful. I love those things.
Yeah, really, really cool stuff. And then you can kind of get like these really kind of demented, evil sounding sounds out of things that are supposed to be like educational, but they sound like they're teaching you about Satanism or something.
Yeah. Or we make them sound drunk, where they're all slow. Like, you were talking about the SK1. There was a mod. I bought one actually modded just for fun. Someone put a photocell and wired it to the little pitch tuner in the back. So you have a little kind of a pseudo theremin thing with the SK1. It's kind of funny.
So in Europe now, you guys can you guys not get CAD cells?
Yeah, the cadmium's banned.
Yeah, see, I still have a ton of those things here. And one of the side effects of doing like the HVAC work that I did is oil burners, right? That burn, oil for your house or whatever, right? Inside of them, the way they work is they have a large CAD cell in there, so that if the flame goes out, the resistance goes up, and then it'll shut off the burner, right? It has like a timer inside of it that starts heating up a resistor, and then it pops and shuts off the burner. So I would take those old CAD cells and I'd save them, and I'd use them for little synthesizer projects and stuff, because they have the way that they're shaped is it's a CAD cell this big, and then it's got 2 prongs out the back. So it's really easy to just put alligator clips right on them, and then you can connect them up to whatever you want to use as a photo resistor. And then, they're easy to kind of mount into things. And
so they're practically a photoresistor, yeah?
Yeah. It's exactly what it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So and they're usually the photoresistors that we see on synths and stuff are really kind of tiny, but these ones are pretty big. So you can, they're good for putting your whole palm over and that kind of stuff, or like just kind of like shading it a little bit, so you can. It's a little bit easier to control than like the little tiny dot ones. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're fun to play with that stuff, or put like I had one thing where I made a tremolo pedal by I just had a little circuit that's like it's like a kid's circuit to teach them about solar energy that makes like a little wheel that moves around, and then you just put different color pieces of paper and like wax paper there, and it goes around and it's varying the resistance of the circuit that way, so it's opening and closing the VCA. And but it's just a little kid's toy. And again, it's ugly as hell because I'm not putting this stuff in any kind of fancy box or anything, but it works and it sounds cool.
You should post all your stuff online, Ken. All your little projects.
Again, I'm lazy. I should. You're right.
Yeah, I shared a picture real quick that Ken would be interested in. This Reed had put this, had shared this from somebody else, something from 1968 called the Odor Box. You see that, Henrik, to present it?
I haven't got anything.
It's a modified test box for synthesis and sound effects and stuff. I have a similar thing I got
on Facebook instead.
You can't present it here on the StreamYard? It's down in the,
something is totally wrong here, so I can't see anything in the private chat.
Oh, okay.
You might
no,
not.
it's down below. It's in my presentation. I'm presenting it. You just have to enable it. Yeah.
I have to go. Oh, I have to find it. So I have to go to YouTube to enable it.
Slides.
Because it should be next to my my camera down there.
Yeah, but I wasn't watching the stream. So.
Oh, no worries. It's okay.
Oh, next to your camera, you say?
Yeah, next. Well, that's how it looks like in StreamYard. But when you present something, it goes next to your camera image, and you just have to enable it.
Nothing's here.
And Kent does it on his show sometimes. I forgot how to do it from the admin end.
Oh God, yeah. Well, no, it should just appear as looks like another guest window.
Another guest, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you just.
There. Yeah.
Yeah,
there you go. Look at that. It's called the Odor Box from 1968.
Oh,
So I have a similar test equipment box I bought from an antique store many years ago that looks similar to this. Not as pretty, but I was going to make some weird module thing for it at some point. But that's this.
Are those like walnuts or something on there? Like what is that stuff on the back there?
I'm not sure what's going on there. There's not a lot of description in the post. It just says this is the.
I don't know. I like it though. That's like right up my alley. I love.
Yeah, it's very steampunk.
Like that.
Looks like somebody super glued pebbles onto it.
Snails.
That's the other thing I'm thinking. I'm like, I don't know, maybe some kind of weird parasite.
It's a trip. Yeah.
Tribbles.
Because I got that weird thing in the storeroom. I think it was built 1942, 1943. Called is the Bode Multimonica?
By Howard Bode.
Yeah, and it was built. It's such a weird thing because you have a monophonic synth on the top manual, which is a valve synth.
It kind of looks like harmonic.
It looks like a little accordion.
Yeah,
thing,
exactly.
But it stands on the desk, and he's got two keyboards. And I think it was by accident, but there's a second. You can put a second speaker in it, and see, because the bottom manual is, for all intents and purposes, imagine you've got a harmonica connected to a keyboard. So when you press the keys, you get the harmonica come out. But if you put the speaker up the other way and put the output,
careful with the gestures. Now your camera is moving.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's gone.
It woke up.
Stop that. You have the speaker comes into the air channel of the motor blowing the air into the monitor, and the synth mixes with the frequencies that you play on the bottom keyboard as well, and you get all these weird harmonies and stuff, and it almost goes like ring mod in places and stuff like that as you play it. It's quite a bizarre thing. But if you play a big chord, it gets quieter. That's the only real problem. So, and it has knee controllers for volume for each keyboard.
Oh, that's crazy.
So
that's like the those pump organs from the turn of this last
and
century.
What is it called again?
It's called the Abode Multimonica.
Multimonica.
Yeah, I need to look this up.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I keep meaning to go back down there and get it fixed, but there's always something else to do first.
Yeah. I remember, was there any, what's the name of that Hammond instrument that they kind of like?
Nova chord?
Yeah,
Nova
that's
chord,
Yeah, I love the Nova chord.
in sci-fi, yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely sound.
Cherry Audio makes one now. It's pretty good.
It's funny that just came up because I was like, when I woke up this morning, I randomly saw Mark Doty talking about his old Nova chord that eventually went to Steve Howell of Hollow Sun. And I used to have a reoccurring nightmare about a Nova chord. This is a weird side note, but I have very, very vivid dreams that I tend to remember. And this one was a reoccurring one that I would have, that I was at like going to a yard sale, and someone had a Nova chord there that they were selling for like $200 or something like that. And they didn't really know what it was. They thought it was just like an old player piano or something. And I was like, oh, I'll buy it. Like I was like freaking out that I saw a Nova chord in real life, and yeah, I could buy this thing. And I was like, yes, I'll buy it. And we went to go load it onto the truck, and the house is like on a hill, and it has wheels at the bottom of it, and it just starts going down the hill. And the rest of the dream is me chasing after this Nova chord. And I had this dream like 10 times in a row.
This means something.
It means I'll never have a Nova chord is what it means. Or if I get one, it'll always be broken.
Yeah, welcome to my world. Yeah.
Speaking of Nova chord, that Nova chord restoration site where the guy took a really messed up one and completely rebuilt it, and beautiful pictures and stuff. When they first fixed it and they turned on the thing, some of the sounds they recorded from it before they tuned it further and stuff. This awesome, like creepy horror sounds and stuff. But this is when I pulled off the website. I ran into Sample Wiz by Jordan Rudess, and unfortunately, the old version has this modern thing where you can put one sample in, stretches it beautifully. The new Sample Wiz with Bliss or whatever doesn't have this mode in it, which really annoys me. But this sound is so cool from the Nova chord.
No, I can't hear it.
Right out loud. Let me turn it up here.
Oh, there we go.
That's being extremely stretched there, but there's some really beautiful sounds on this thing. Just right off that website, these drones and. So anyway, this Nova chord is really cool when you set it up right.
I threw a link in the chat to Hollow Sun's Nova chord.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Stephen Howell was a guy that was taken from us too soon, and that guy was a brilliant sound designer and one of like my biggest inspirations when I first got into like sampling and everything. So I highly recommend anybody who's into like multi-sample libraries, check out the Hollow Sun stuff. It's older now, and it's still just as good as it was when it first came out.
Still use it today.
The interfaces are cool too. They have these like kind of sci-fi and spacey modules with really well sampled stuff, and I bought the entire library once I discovered it. So
yeah, really that's the Hollow Sun stuff is so good. I think I found them back when I had like an Elise's Fusion, and I used to get his libraries for that, and they were all like the best patches for the Fusion.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cherry Audio has a Nova chord emulator now. It's basically a full-on VST, basically, or standalone of the Nova chord, and it's a lot of fun to play with. If you guys want that, the one from Hollow Sun is samples, so you're stuck with whatever was sampled into it, pretty much, with some changes. But the one Cherry Audio is a full emulation, so you can program the hell out of it. So.
The worst sci-fi movie with the worst synthesizer effect. Can you come up with something?
Boy.
And it doesn't have to be Liquid Sky.
Well, it's funny because some of the worst movies ever made like that have really good soundtracks. Like,
Yeah.
if you know Empire Pictures, Charles Band in the '80s made tons of they're like the Golden Globus of the U.S. And they made just terrible, Canon films. They did horrible movies that are fun, pulpy, dopey, whatever. But the guy used audio frame and a bunch of the really high end stuff to make these scores. So they sounded great. The score sounded great. So it's just sometimes you get like the opposite. You get like a really good score and a crappy movie, or the opposite. Liquid Sky's score is actually pretty good, except for the scene with that woman singing. But, yeah, I have to think about that. Crappy score.
I like the drum where she was singing.
That's what I mean. I have a drum. It's whatever. The rap. It's
Me
really
and my
bad.
drum machine or something like
That's
that.
it. Yeah, me and my drum machine.
What I really hated was, what was that? There Will Be Blood. I hated that score.
Oh yeah,
Really?
Remember that one?
barely. It was a great movie, but
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because a lot of people really rate that score.
It was different, but it was different in a bad way, I thought.
So you guys know James Horner. He used to write for Corman. He did music for Roger Corman movies. So there's a reason why Star Trek, one of the original Star Trek movies by James Horner, sounds like Battle Beyond the Stars and some other crappy, funny, spacey Roger Corman movies, because it's exactly the same score that he wrote for those B movies, those pulpy movies.
I think James Horner did it was the Khan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there are cues in there that are right from Battle Beyond the Stars, made like, I don't know, 2-3 years earlier.
And you always got to have a cornet going through a delay line. It's the law.
I mean, he was a great composer. He did stuff for lots of famous films.
Didn't he do the first Avatar as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think The Abyss. I think he did the Abyss score.
Yeah. I didn't like the Avatar score, strangely. I loved the film.
Avatar is a tough one because it's basically a really almost a non-story with just a showcase of special effects.
Yeah, I did see it in 3D.
Like, I haven't seen the latest one, but being Kent's also into 3D stuff a lot too. The 3D technology and the latest one with the water and stuff is so realistic. It's unbelievable. But that doesn't matter if your movie sucks. If your story's bad, your acting's bad,
I'm pretty forgiving when it comes to sci-fi movies and story.
Yeah.
You have to be. Yeah.
I'm very willing to suspend disbelief in the efforts of entertainment. Yeah, but I'm also a massive comic book fan, so
sure.
Because
I knew purists. I knew like astronomy purists who they went to Star Wars, and they heard the whoosh in space and they left. Like, that's impossible. There's no sound in space. Well, of course there isn't, but it's a pretty boring movie if you don't have any interesting sounds.
I dislike it. I dislike the Avatar films because I still think he should have made Ringworld, Larry Niven's Ringworld, and not.
Yeah, you said he had rights to that, right?
Yeah, he bought the rights.
It's a waste just sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote a score for Ringworld, and I sent it to Larry Niven. He said, "Yeah, it's brilliant," but he said, "It's not going to get made."
The whole Roger Dean thing of the first Avatar movie. I did love that. Knowing the old album covers.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Floating islands and weird stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a bad.
Is there a special TV show or sci-fi again where you remember the background noises, the ambience? For example, Stargate Universe is one of them where I really remember. The sounds in the background.
I loved the background noises for the original proper Blade Runner. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well,
one of those was a toy. Someone made a YouTube video many years ago and discovered one of those little bling, ding, ding, bling, things in the
It
background.
is. Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a little toy you could buy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Blade Runner is just one of those things that is just always going to be referenced, and it's kind of timeless in how that was done. And I mean, even for the style of film that it is, it's kind of, it doesn't have to be perfect, and it's kind of better that it's not perfect. You know what I mean? Having that grit to it and just being that kind of noirish kind of vibe. Like, yeah, that stuff
It's
will
very
always,
thin on story, but that doesn't matter because it's beautiful looking and sounding, and
the world is just fantastic.
yeah,
Like the
Sid
vibe of
Mead's
the world
work
is
and
fantastic.
all the visual effects. And
And
all
right
that.
at the beginning, where you see the skyline of LA, and then you hear that kind of auto hop kind of bring sound.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
this gnarly CS80 sound.
there was
Oh, yeah.
so there was another score done for it before Hans got
Yeah.
involved,
Yes.
and that was it Junkie XL that had
Oh,
done
you're
it?
talking about the
The newer one, yeah, 2049.
Mm.
I don't remember who it was originally.
But
Before,
yeah, I remember like
And
because
more-
that had been in the works for a while, and I guess stylistically it didn't match with what
somebody
the
got
director
thrown
did.
out. And I can't remember who it was. It could
Yeah,
have been.
I always want to hear that. Like I want to
Ethan
hear
Tommy.
what it was and hear that take on it. Like I think that would be a really cool director's edit to like release with that. Well, which I'm sure can't be done because I highly doubt that it was actually fully finished. But I don't know. I would just love to hear like an alternate,
Yeah,
like
I'd like to
see it
hear that.
with two different scores like that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
No, Ben Wallfish did a rush job, and he did a pretty good job for.
Well,
the amount
that
of-
Ridley Scott's Legend famously had two scores, and they went with the Tangerine Dream one, but it was Jerry
Yeah.
Goldsmith. Yeah.
I was quite glad actually when Hans told me that he said he says, "Oh, we pulled your CS80 you restored for us. We pulled it out of the cupboard. It's been there in there a long time, and it was still in tune." I go,
Yeah.
"Wow."
Well done,
Programming
good sir.
sound once. I had the CS80 and the what they call it, that other big thing, the Schmidt,
Yeah.
next to each other, and there's no comparison. The CS80 was just a wonderful instrument with that long keyboard, the long throw keys, and everything.
Yeah.
And the
I
Schmidt-
do sound design with hip hop producer Just Blaze, and he does like Jay-Z and Beyonce and those guys. And his studio, Kent knows because Kent helped him get. He's got a CS80, a CS60, CS50s. Like he's got pretty much everything you could think of at this point. And yeah, like the Schmidt was one of the ones that was brought in, and we just kind of never really got along with it as far as how it is. It just never really just didn't do it for us. But
it's a pity.
CS80, man, is
What they got wrong with the Schmidt was that they kind of wanted to add. It's a typical Roland thing. They added like modulators to each individual part
exactly.
instead of making it fully patchable, so you use the same LFO for different things.
And the UI is a little bit counterintuitive, in my opinion. Just how you set things up.
Oscillator 4 was interesting. You remember that? It was kind of ring modulator matrix kind of thing.
And the latest edition in there, well, probably not latest edition now, but anyway, the what is it called? The Colossus is in there now, and that's a pretty
the new Colossus.
not the polyphonic thing. Which that's
not the
probably
Maximus,
coming as well.
Not the
Yeah,
Maximus,
that's
but
probably
You
coming.
don't mean the analog system and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's in there, and we had to calibrate all the oscillators because actually half of the oscillators calibrate one way and the other half calibrate a different way. So that was interesting. We were controlling it with a Hydrasynth to play it polyphonically, and that some really interesting stuff there. But as far as like just classic synthesizers for sci-fi sounds, it's like the CS80 is, it's hard to escape what that thing has done, and it's not like the most versatile synth in the world, but it's like
It's a
what it
performance-
does.
It
The
needs effects.
performance
For sure.
synthesizer. You can,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah,
flip those little controls
I
while
mean,
it's
I mean, if you went into a music shop and there was a CS80 there, and you selected strings 1 and 2, or
Yeah.
a combination of any of the 4 string patches, and played it, and you go, nah, and move on. Do you know what I mean? It's because it'll just oh, Jesus, yeah, no, thank you. But it's how you play her. And I think it was old Manny. It was Manny who was saying about it.
Manny Fernandez.
He said it's not what's in the box; it is the box, which kind of really does. It's the combination of all its components that make it
Greater than the sum of its parts. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love playing it. I must admit. I mean, I know that one's got to go back in March, but I've got another couple out there, so I'll bring one of them up. Just borrowing this. Sorry.
Yeah, I passed up on a CS60 for $200 at one point, which is probably a mistake. Even if it just
in the long run, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the long run, definitely. Yeah.
So Henrik, you're asking about annoying synth score. Right now I'm just thinking of good ones. So obviously the John Carpenter stuff like Escape from New York and all that. But there's some great stuff by Howard Shore of all people for David Cronenberg. Scanners and Videodrome. Very, very synthy, very, very weird and crazy. Probably some of it's synclavier. I don't know. There's some really weird stuff in there. So long before he was doing Lord of the Rings, orchestral, giant, bombastic stuff, he was doing small movies for David Cronenberg, doing really synthy scores. And then, of course, there's Goblin doing stuff for like movies like Contamination by Luigi Cozzi, which, Goblin's just awesome. Prog rock synthesizers, arpeggios and ostinatos for days. And then, there's so many other ones that I'm just drawing a blank on right now, but there's plenty of really good examples of spacey, synthy scores out there, but still trying to think of a bad one.
Well, for me, a disjointed one is Flash Gordon.
Oh, yeah.
Where you go, yeah, the music's good if you remove the film, and the film's okay if you
the film's fun. I mean, I was the right age for it, because I literally saw it 8 times in the theater when I was a kid.
Yeah, but if you had a different score on that, it would.
But I was a huge Queen fan at the time, and actually the pads and the synths in there are really good.
I remember something I hated as well. There's a series called Dark.
Oh, yeah.
A German series, and it's pretty good. And then there's a lot of the music is just kind of...
I couldn't get through it, man. I wanted to so bad because I had heard so many good things, and I couldn't get past that.
Yeah.
It's pretty clever though. Just the at some point, like a lot of things toward the end, it kind of falls apart, But
You mean like Lost?
Spoiler alert! It does have time travel in it, so.
It's very weird.
What about Christophe? What do you think, man? You got anything you hate?
Hate? No. As long
it
as
doesn't sit well with you, at least.
He hates boxed wine.
as long as stuff is kind of weird, crazy, or experimental, I can't hate anything. And hate with music and art is something that doesn't match.
What about Stranger Things?
You can love it, you can hate it. So, and I don't know. I'm a bit perplexed, because when I'm watching a sci-fi movie, I don't know, I'm not nerding out about the sound effects or the score. For me, it's all about the movie, the story, the atmosphere, the acting, the story, of course.
Oh, admittedly, same here, but the second time I watch it, I'll also keep out an eye on the music, and maybe the third time and the fourth time.
Yeah.
And by about the 20th time, I'm going, is that a DX7 doing that tinkly noise in the background? Go ahead.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not the guy who's watching movies 20 times or even a second time or a third time. It has to be really, really good.
I'll tell you one thing that drives me nuts is how some of the older soundtracks were recorded. So again, this is getting back to like weird sci-fi movies and all. There's a movie that I loved called The Brain That Won't Die.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the soundtrack is very like, it almost sounds like a serial comic book type thing, like where Batman, like it's 60s Batman kind of thing, because they're like like, you know, these like horn blasts, but everything is done very like, the way that it was recorded was kind of a product of its time and all, but it's very thin, right? And I can't tell you how many times like I've tried to sample that music for myself. Like I end up just using the dialogue and not the actual music or sound from it. But
yeah, that's a woman's head in a pan, right? They basically a Reanimator took that idea. So
I love it.
Yeah,
I watch that movie probably at least like once a year. Even
Is
now.
that the one where brain gets put into a robot?
Her head is
in a
off,
car
and
accident, she gets
she's
decapitated.
her head gets cut off in a car accident, and she's basically convincing her husband, doctor guy, to like abduct these women and take their bodies so that she can have her head put onto another body.
And meanwhile, there's an experimental freak in the room next door who keeps trying to break out. And it's just one of those.
It's so great.
And she's taunting everybody from the tray. She's just the head in the tray going, and like, first of all, there's no lungs, so how is she even breathing and talking? But that's sci-fi for you.
She's doing her thing, man, and she's manipulative, and it's just great. But the sound of it.
How about the Share and Enjoy song from Hitchhiker's Guide? Do you remember that one? Well,
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah, the robot, the voice box is exactly a flattened fifth out of tune, so it goes da-dum, da-dum, dum, dum, bum. So it's it set the stage for what notes should come. And it's so wrong, it's wonderful.
About the Brain movie, I gotta find that movie because when I think of a Brain movie, I think of another one, and it's a Steve Martin movie.
Oh, Man with Two Brains.
Oh, the Man with Two Brains, yeah.
I just put it into the chat. I found it on YouTube.
That's the Back and Bowl, right? Isn't that Man with Two Brains, or is that a different one? Is that All of Me? I'm getting those two confused, I think.
It's such a long time ago since I've seen that film. I only remember one thing.
It's so many after each other. It's all blurry, the jerk and all that stuff.
All I can remember is the woman opens her raincoat and he goes, "Oh, mama." And he goes, "I knew I shouldn't have talked." Yeah.
And the sci-fi movies always had really cool sound effects, but it's also like the horror movies would like, they cross in sound design so closely because it's all these like psychoacoustic sounds that they want to evolve, and they want to have these kind of like unsettling sounds. So if you've got an alien, you're trying to create this sound that's like otherworldly and makes you feel uneasy or whatever, but it's the same sort of thing that, you're going to want to hear if someone is having a mental break, that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know, and I think half the time when people come into my studio, I'm doing the same thing to them.
Hitchcock, a couple of his movies, Birds and Psycho.
Yeah, Birds comes to mind immediately. I think Psycho is the easy pull on that, but Birds is like, man, I that's my favorite.
Do any of you watch movies at the computer and sometimes sit and play with it and sometimes make sound effects? I often at least play. I don't know if I'm never really using or doing sound effects. It's more following the notes with another synth sound. So, do any of you ever watch movies like that?
I even sample the movie and start playing with the sounds.
I do it with Hans Zimmer movies a lot, I must admit. Can't help it. Sorry, mate. Sorry about that. I can't help it.
I have a lot of friends that are producers that will watch movies while they work, and I so can't do that. Like I try to do that, and I can't do it. Like I'm either working on the sound or I'm doing something with video. I can't do them at the same time like that. But I've done things where we do like I try to keep things interesting on the Hydrosynth Facebook group. So I did one where it was like I just wanted everybody to create spaceship sounds, and I found this video of the Jetsons, and he's just puttering by on a spaceship, and I was recreating different sounds for that, and then I started recreating Marvin the Martian sounds and like doing those things. I love Marvin the Martian, so but like that kind of stuff is always fun to do. Like reimagining weird cartoon sounds.
Hmm.
Yeah, they are fun.
Yeah.
They got a lot of mileage out of those cartoon sounds too, because a lot of times they're just reversed. So there's the and the reversed splat.
Yeah.
What is that device called that I can't remember? It's like a wood block with like a metal
Flexitone.
Bang, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Flextone.
Yeah, that. You get a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one of those. Flexitones are fun. Or the old classic thing where making that or big ones with thunder where you just roll a piece of sheet of metal like that.
Yeah.
Or just playing the saw. Playing the saw.
Saw, yeah. Yeah, there's actually a couple good Disney videos online showing all the classic guys side by side scene and sound effect and how he's doing it live with the cartoon. And it's very eye-opening. Like, oh, that's how they did that sound.
Yeah, Foley guys, it's fantastic.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's actually one of those things where it's like it's kind of a dream job, but at the same time, it's like, man, it looks like a lot of work too.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I actually got a job of doing Foley, and they flew me over to Dominican Republic just for this Foley job, and I had no idea, but I just got so much into it. You know, walking in the gravel and working out how to make a acoustic, how to create a sound. Yeah.
Now, did they set you up with all your tools ready to go? Like what was
just stuff we found in the studio, like guitar case, just anything that was just lying around. And it kind of worked. I don't think I'd do it again. It's just too scary.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of pressure for something like that.
Yeah.
But it also just like talk about creative space, that's kind of like prime, find a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's like those Transformers movies. I'm not a fan of Michael Bay or his most of his output, but the sound design in that with cold pieces of metal put on ice and recording the artifacts of the metal distorting with contact mics and stuff. Some of those sounds are amazing. Just from putting cold metal and various other pieces, things together to make these funky
That'll be
sounds
something
live.
for you, Ken, yeah? Foley. You'd get into that.
Yeah, that would just be a blast. And then I'd end up divorced because I'd never be out of the studio.
You have even more clutter than ever with like homemade devices of stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Forget the coconuts on the wood block or whatever.
I'd need a second house for that kind of thing. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I wonder how much sound design goes into porn films.
Oh yeah, and
for films, yes, not for video, but for film.
It's been interesting to see, because I have to research this kind of stuff. You got to stay on top of your market, So it's been interesting to see how porn sound has evolved over the years.
It used to be those rumplers, some cheap rumpler, wasn't it?
Yeah, and but maybe before that, like a lot of like really like sleazy funk and like.
Yeah.
Well, some early '80s had like proper like. Basically synthwave, synth pop kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if you're watching the classy stuff, you'd get some kind of like ambient Enya kind of like
baritone saxophone.
Those are the ones made by female directors. They had made the more classy ones.
Yeah.
So the guys made all the raunchy stuff.
And they were longer films.
Yeah.
Well, that's the topic for the next stream. But
Porn music.
Synthesizers and porn.
Expect a larger audience.
Wow stream. Yeah,
Listen, man. Sex sells. That's how you're gonna get up the
Absolutely.
views.
I tried last time with
The
sex
dress code for that
things
show is
and-
gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
that's great.
Shall we open the streams so others can join? Are you
Sure.
interested in that? And if you feel it's late, it's okay if you leave. So shall we open it up?
In space, no one can hear you stream.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
where's the baboon tish button?
I'll
when
post
you
a
need
link in the chat so other people can join.
Alien was fun because it was mostly orchestral with some synthy stuff mixed in, but the way he did it, it sounded mostly synthy kind of. It was a really interesting score. I remember my mom took us to see that in the theater, and you know, it
Sorry,
was
what movie are you talking about now?
Alien 1979.
Alien.
And so we're in the theater. It's loud as hell because for some reason they turned it way up, so it's super loud. And you know, it's very on the edge of your seat kind of movie. And my mom's not really into that stuff, but she had to take us because it's R-rated. And she half the movie she's like this, peeking through. What's coming up next? It's like, what? They have to tell me what's coming up. But like, we've never seen the movie. How are we going to tell you what's coming up next? So, but it was very effective. She was super affected by that movie. The fast cutting, the creatures, the sound design. It's pretty awesome.
Mm.
Almost never got finished too. Just like Blade Runner, Ridley Scott is a real taskmaster.
Speaking of porn, I remember a movie in the early 80s called Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind. There were some sound effects in that, but I can't remember the sound effects. I only remember the bad acting.
Well, some of them got clever, kind of like almost like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There were some that were interacting with cartoon characters, so they actually had to stage it and plan it and have sound effects and all kinds of stuff. It's very funny.
Nobody coming into the stream?
They will come. It's not happening immediately, but some will come. They usually
still
do.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to go in there.
So, let's see. Inky, you could join. It's a long time ago. You were here. She's probably lying under a table somewhere.
Wow.
Okay.
Now she will join.
It's Saturday. It's Saturday.
Yeah.
So,
Fireworks, really?
Asia haven't put his face on, and Paul Holmes is in space. Strange.
Oh, I actually am gonna have to head out because I have to start getting my dinner ready. So
Okay.
and I'm looking forward to it. So I've been doing a lot of smoked meats lately. So
are you having
Okay.
dyed celery and weird fruit cubes like Star Trek? Speaking of sci-fi, like
you know, I was thinking about getting a replicator, but I think what's gonna end up happening is I'm just gonna end up getting like that baby food thing, like RoboCop got.
Yeah. There you go.
One of the things in my studio, I'll show you this. This is great. This is one of the prime pieces in my studio. Here is my.
Oh, nice.
And I put googly eyes on them.
Ed 209 with googly eyes. I mean,
I did a live stream for Maker Faire a couple weeks ago.
That's it,
There's a company that makes a scale model, like 1-to-1 scale of Ed 209. It's amazing.
Yeah, this one like will talk and growl at you and all that kind of stuff, but I don't remember how I even turn it on.
I love when he falls down the stairs and has a tantrum and they're playing pig noises.
Yes, and that's quality sound design. Is the fact that they were using like all these animal noises for such a mechanical thing.
Growls and
I
stuff.
think is brilliant. Like you go back
The
and watch
lions
that
roar.
now, that thing is terrifying. Like
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah. Paul Verhoeven's great.
It's like I've got was it a USB hub that's a TARDIS? And every time you plug a USB into it, it goes. It gets
cool.
really annoying after a while. Fortunately, it's got an off button on the bottom.
Don't you have a sonic screwdriver, Ken?
No.
I do. I have multiple.
You do too, yeah.
Yeah. My son is 23 now. He's autistic, and when he was about, God, he had to have been about 5 or 6. We kind of discovered Doctor Who, and it just like enveloped my household immediately because like I want to say this is who was the guy right before David Tennant? He only did like 1 season. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, no, I know you mean.
Is it Elkson?
Young guy.
Yeah.
So that was like I think that was maybe the first season that we had watched. I don't remember who was before that, but like I really liked that. And then we fell in love from that point, and it was like, man, we did his whole room up in Doctor Who stuff, and like his door was a TARDIS and all that good stuff. And as a result, I have a ton of like sonic screwdrivers and things of that nature. And all kinds of like devices that create those sounds, and weeping angels and stuff are all over my house. So but we came onto that stuff so late because I grew up on like Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation, but I didn't
Next
really
Gen had
know.
amazing sound effects in it.
Oh, I still love that show. Yeah, I still love that show to this day.
The theme for Deep Space Nine. That's lovely.
Deep Space Nine was great.
David McCarthy.
And like all the stuff with Q. I love like the weird sounds and stuff that they would do with Q. Like, that stuff, man. Yeah. Anyway, all right, I'll let you guys go. It was great being on, and thank you again. I love seeing all you guys, and thank you for being on. Yep.
Thanks for sharing your crazy inventions.
Take care, man.
See you next time.
Cheers.
Yeah, so actually I found a special sound effect tool here in my studio. So it features 3 original Star Trek sound effects. Like, 30 seconds ago I did it. Maybe I have to restart it. Starfleet recorder. No, actually, in German we call this a Vorführ effect. It obviously doesn't work anymore. So
closest I have is a Zoom effects pedal with a built-in speaker.
I have to call Jordi LaForge to fix it. Yeah, all right.
It could have been a cell phone 30 years ago.
Yeah, totally. So, and I remember actually 30 years ago when I got my first mobile, it was the kind of big Nokia, and then some years later we had the first digital cameras, and then a kind of organizer, and I was sitting there with all this stuff and saying, it would be so nice to have something like a tricorder one day in Star Trek. And of course, this is it, what we have today. Science fiction is more real today than we could have ever imagined it. So, never forget this. Apart
You
from
have the
maybe.
spray thing where it goes through your skin. They've had that out for many years.
Yeah.
You can go through your arm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's the future is now.
Well, if you think of it, a mobile phone is practically telepathy.
Yeah.
As well as being the the Library of Alexandria, you know.
And tracking your every move.
And that as well, yeah.
Yeah, and actually what we are doing now, speaking to each other.
Telepathy.
You are in California, you are in Denmark, I'm in Berlin. This is pure science fiction, I tell you.
Yeah.
So.
Mhm.
On
Yeah.
some days I'm totally fascinated. Fascinated
amazing.
by this technology and can't believe it. And,
Even though it works halfway, it's still pretty impressive.
and often I'm totally happy that all this stuff exists and that it is so much fun to use it.
My favorite though is the old Star Trek where the future was cassettes. You got to have tapes for everything. That's all they could think of at the time was tapes. So it's pretty funny.
Yeah, and the next generation, they all have those. They all have tablets.
They have iPads basically. They even call them pads.
Yeah, they have-
PADD.
Yeah, they have pads.
Those-
Yeah.
yeah.
And,
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? Kind of retrofuturism.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
retrofuturismus. Yes, it's a very interesting subject. I like it very much.
The
So I'm also
Jetsons.
very interested in old design and 60s, 70s design stuff, space age furniture. And,
It's funny though because
so
their
everything
idea of
is
touch
together and
interfaces
it's more-
was a panel, but in like Minority Report, it's up in the air. Everything's like virtual, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm. So to me, all this science fiction movie stuff is more a source of inspiration.
Probably was
Then
for the
I'm
designers.
also more into books, when it comes to science fiction. So, for example, take Blade Runner. It's a nice movie, so nice actors, nice soundtrack, but read the book from Philip
Your
K. Dick.
Android's Dream of Electric Sheep.
Yeah, and you will see that they missed 2/3 of the story in the movie.
They made a whole series here called Electric Dreams. It was all Philip K. Dick stories, and it was a pretty cool little series.
Yeah, but I didn't really like it. It was a bit uninspired.
Yeah, I mean it's a
my
shadow.
humble opinion. Yeah.
Most of the time, it doesn't translate well. I mean, World War Z is an incredible book, and the movie is garbage. So it's just the way it goes.
Yeah, in general, Philip K. Dick stories to make movies out of it, it's literally impossible.
Well, it's like Dune. They're doing a pretty good job, but they're obviously not doing all the details there because it's like a 15,000-year story, right? All the 6 books or whatever it is. So it's kind of hard to put that all in a couple movies.
Yeah, I didn't watch it actually. I was desperately waiting for the version from Möbius and Jodorowsky with
Yeah.
Salvador Dali and Mick Jagger and all this stuff. But
It's kind of good they didn't do it though, because the tech back then wouldn't have been able to do what they wanted to do. There was very limited tech back then.
yeah, so
And Jodorowsky is just a wacko. I mean, Holy Mountain, all that kind of stuff. He's just Santa Sangre.
I got a lot of comic books from Möbius and
Mobius was brilliant.
Definitely.
All right, so thank you for having me in your stream, and I think I will leave now also because it's late.
You're welcome some other time if you want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me and Christophe.
So I'm
Channel has
sorry,
great content on it.
I'm not really a big movie guy, so I'm more creative guy. I don't like to consume other people's fantasy. I prefer to produce stuff myself. It's the same. I never make any computer games or stuff like this. So okay, so thank you and see you later.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
See you later, Christoph. Take care.
Bye-bye. So it's us.
So Howard, what's your favorite project you worked on, or maybe a couple projects?
Ooh. I suppose the first one that I did for Hans, which was the Dark Knight.
Oh, okay, yeah. Nice.
Before then, I'd only worked at home, and I'd never had anything to do with Hollywood or anything. There was a completely different world, and being
Did you work on the second one too? The second Batman?
yeah.
Did you? Were you
mean
part of
Dark
that stacking voices thing where you had to send in your voice and they made the chant?
Yeah, part of it is also Zebra actually, as far as I know. The the Deshe. What do they shout? I can't remember.
Something like something Bane Matala Bane.
Yeah, Deshe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of it is that is synthetic. I don't know what they added to it. Usually they, even in June, the not the one that's coming, but the one before that. I added some. I made some sound, which became part of the mast. What's the word? Dudelsack in German. Can't think of the English word. Pipe. The pipes. The Scottish pipes.
Oh, Uilleann pipes, something like that. Bagpipes.
Not Uilleann. Bagpipe is the word I was looking for.
Bagpipes, yeah.
Thank you. It's getting a bit late for me. Yeah, apparently became part of the bagpipes, but I didn't recognize it. And yeah, and Kevin Schroeder did some very interesting. That percussion sample gets repeated. It sounds very wooden, and it's got wonderful flavor to it. And a lot of that was Kevin on the Zebra as well.
Nice.
Very good
Is it
sound.
the same for the batwing flapping sound?
The original Batwings was Mel Wesson.
Yeah.
On the Moog.
Yeah.
And I kind of copied that on the Zebra for the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
The Batwing was originally in the previous Batman movies, for which I wasn't involved at the time.
No, okay.
Also curious, what was your most challenging project, and what was the weirdest device or
The one I'm most proud of is I got a sample of Chris Nolan's Gold Watch, and that sound is actually, because you can speed it up without any artifacts or anything, and because they wanted to do this rhythmic version of the barber pole effect.
Oh, okay, right.
When you get the pitch going up endlessly.
Yeah,
there's a rhythmic version of that. The name of which escapes me.
Yeah, I've done some stuff like that.
He wanted to base a lot of the tracks on getting faster and faster and faster, and then the thinning it out as it gets faster, and then the slower rhythms come in. The same kind of effect. And for that, the clock had to, the ticking clock had to do that as well. And so he couldn't do it with a sample, and resampling wasn't an option. I just kind of recreated that in Zebra over 3 days, and that was the one I was most proud of, to be honest.
Nice.
I think.
What's the weirdest or most exotic thing you've used?
Sorry, I forgot to mention what movie that was.
Oh, Dunkirk, yeah.
Yeah. What's the weirdest
or most exotic thing you used for sound design for a project?
Well, most of my stuff is just in the synthesizer, so I haven't actually used anything except.
Or an unusual synth or rare synth, or like Hartman Neuron or something like that, or.
Did you get to use the 2500?
No, but I did get to use the stack of what are they called? Super Jupiters.
Oh, right, yeah.
A stack of like 8 Super Jupiters.
Yeah.
And I got to use the Moog 55 as well, which was fun. But made very, very traditional, standard kind of big Moogy 24 dB filter sounds with that. But yeah, Zebra was the one that I used most.
Does Nolan have a lot of input on the sound part of it, or he just kind of let you guys do whatever? No, Christopher Nolan, does he have a big input on the sound part of it, or he let you guys do whatever?
I think at the time, well, I have vague memories of it because it's a while ago now. I can't remember. Apparently, he, if I remember rightly, he kept changing things. Like for one movie, he wouldn't even tell Hans what it was about.
Oh.
I think, and for others, he would tell him something that it wasn't. So he would come up with some very different stuff.
He didn't want to, force you down a certain path. He
I
wanted to-
didn't. I only had to. I didn't have much to do with the directors, just with the music side of things.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you use like Metasynth and things like that?
No, everything's within separate.
Because I know, like for the original Matrix, they use Metasynth a lot for all kinds of weird sound effects.
Yeah, that Metasynth. I've forgotten what that is. Doesn't it turn images into synths?
That's one of the things you can do. Yeah.
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 No, I think I tried that back in the day, but didn't really gel with me. I was much more into virtual analog and FM and physical modeling stuff. I've still got a couple of Yamaha. That thing up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love them. Yeah.
Nice.
But I don't need any of this stuff because I just work in the box.
In the box, yeah. It's
And
pretty much Zebra. That's your favorite tool, or do you have a couple?
Well, I've very much got into our other product, which is Hive, the complex one. But yeah, it's just more powerful than any of these hardware things, except the possible exception of something like Hydrosynth and this one here, one in the middle. What's that called? Forgotten.
Iridium.
The Waldorf. No, the one before
Quantum?
Quantum. That's right. Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Have you used stuff like Harmor, like those physical modeling kind of stuff?
Yeah, I tried Harmor. I was very impressed with it at the time. This is like going back how long? 15 years, maybe, or 10 years. Yeah. Because you could drag in envelopes. You could drag in audio, and it would create an envelope from the audio, if I remember rightly.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Quite an interesting idea. Well, the drag and drop stuff. I tried to get into alchemy, but it was just too much micromanagement. Yeah.
It's funny because if I fire up Zebra now, and it will fire up with the just the HS library. I only use your patches when I use it, because your patches always go, I like that, I have some of that.
Well, I think my patches they impress more people who can play a bit of keyboards. And
if you go for the chord type
these,
stuff,
producers who use mouse, they're not impressed at all.
Yeah.
Not what they want.
Yeah. It's always because I use Zebra quite a lot, I must admit. But if it could have had MPE at some point, it would have been great. But
Zebra 3, have you seen the T-shirt? Zebra 3 coming soon since 2012. Zebra 3 will definitely have MPE.
Yeah, that'll be a whole new world again.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you use Repro and other ones like that, or mostly Zebra?
I love Repro. I like it more than Diva, which is probably the biggest seller we've got. I prefer Repro. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Zebra and Hive.
Hive, those two, yeah. They're the complicated ones, yeah. I think Hans only used Zebra. He's got more into some other synths in the meantime, I think, possibly. But I think he mainly used Zebra, and I tried to convince him to and Kevin did as well, to use more Hive, but I don't think he ever really got into it.
Kevin Schroeder.
Kevin Schroeder,
yeah.
He's quite brilliant. Yeah.
You also do patches for Yeah, for Waldorf.
Yeah, I did some patches for the I keep forgetting the name of it.
Quantum.
Quantum, for the Quantum. Yeah,
Also Iridium. I've seen some. with,
yeah, I mean, they get
Iridium.
used. Like many years ago, I did some for this Arturia CS80, which is probably still in the latest version. But unfortunately, they got kind of corrupted. They updated the synth a few times, and my old sound didn't work anymore.
Mm.
They kept them in, but which kind of annoyed me a bit.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I've got a Matrix Brute, yeah, which is lovely hardware.
Yeah, it's fun.
And yeah, I like the Arturia hardware. Well, there's this as well. Box.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
About the Matrix Brute, is it still sticky, or are newer models have they solved the sticky problem with the knobs being
We're still
sticky?
making them, if they are.
Mine's not sticky.
Mine is not on sticky yet. I had a Nano
My
Brute.
mini Brute is. The mini Brute is sticky.
My Micro Brute is sticky, and I gave it to
Yeah.
a friend of mine. Because I don't like sticky knobs.
Yeah. The whole shell was sticky. That whole like outer shell. That
That's right.
stuff,
Yeah,
that's sticky. It's really awful.
The end pieces were sticky.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Plus, it also had the weights problem. Like my weights fell off in shipping. They're bouncing around inside. The glue didn't work.
Oh no!
So, it's like what a great impression when you first open it up. And stuff is
Yeah. No, Micro Brute was quite an interesting little device, you know.
Yeah, the patch bay.
The tiny little patch bay. Yeah, you could.
I got the SE, which has the stackable cables, and they swapped out the arpeggiator for the sequencer.
Yes, yeah.
But you could flash it and then go back and forth.
The Micro Brute had the sequencer.
Yeah, and you could send a MIDI command to it and flip it if you wanted to. It was in the code.
Yeah, what was lovely about the Micro Brute is just a normal triangle wave, and then brute factor.
Yeah, Metalizer was really cool.
Yes, lovely enveloped brute factor. Yeah, very
Steiner Parker, great Steiner Parker filter.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the only modular stuff I've got is this little thing here.
Nice.
Oh,
You ever seen that?
Yeah. Tiny sizer, yeah, with
Tiny
the little
sizer.
tiny plugs, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like the Volca modular, little tiny cables.
Volca modular uses those as well.
Yeah. I bought some third-party ones on Amazon that are stiffer. They're more durable, so they don't bend as much.
Yeah, I've got a mixture of various ones. This is what they look like.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
These are stiff enough, but these little orange ones aren't. They're kind of too bendy.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's this got to do with science fiction?
Oh, synths.
Yeah, but we're so far in stream, so we don't have to be on topic anymore.
That's something I haven't turned on in a long time. Decent.
How did you like that? The sound-wise, was it decent?
I have to get used to it because I'm not a big fan of gritty sounds.
Yeah.
I like my sounds smooth and.
So it's a bit noisy.
It's a bit
grungy.
Bit grungy, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great machine. The idea of elastic audio was very good. But a bit like that, the M Audio Venom.
Oh, I love it.
I hated it.
I mean, it's good at what it does. A certain nasty, grungy, like 9 Inch Nails, Skinny Puppy kind of sounds, and it's perfect for that.
Puppy to Skinny Puppy.
Yeah. Front 242. You know.
Yep.
But yeah, the worst thing about it is actually the display. Those spaced out LCD characters look like a crappy Radio Shack watch.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
Look, it's very hard to read. It
Talk
just
about the
looks
Venom
dumb.
stuff. The
Yeah,
Venom.
the Venom, yeah. But you know, I got it when they're blowing them out for $200. You know.
Yeah.
So they had a promo you could send away for it, and they ship it to you. And that's when M Audio was bought by Digidesign or Avid, or I forgot the whole kind of.
In music, was it?
Well, that was later, I think, but it was first. I think Avid bought them, or something, and then they were all bought by In Music or something. I can't remember the history of it, but it's the M Audio Venom, but M Audio doesn't really exist anymore. So it's.
They don't make MIDI keyboards or anything anymore.
I don't think so. I think unless they kept the name, they may have kept the name, but it's not a separate company anymore. It was bought up.
Was it Oxygen? That little thing.
Yeah, the Oxygen.
Everywhere, like 20 years ago.
Yeah, Oxygen 8. That was a nice little controller. There you go.
Next command for what?
To turn it from sequencer to arpeggiator, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember, I haven't done it, but I remember seeing it a long time ago. It's funny little tricks like that get published and the company gets mad. Like, we want them to buy both. Yeah. They had the same thing with the later Electribes, Korg Electribe, where you could make it a sample or a synth based on the code you send it.
Yeah, the same with the Rack Attack, if you remember that from Waldorf. You could turn that into a micro, what do they call it? Yeah, normal synthesizer.
There's even a hack for the Korg ER1, the old Electribe, where you can hack that now with some code and do some stuff with it. So, lots of clever folks.
Yeah, hacking synthesizers. Remember those grey matter things for the DX7?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
E exclamation mark.
I never see them anymore. They're really rare now. Did you find a lot of those, Kent? Were you ever fixing those?
The Kiwi company in New Zealand does a lot of stuff for the analog.
Yeah.
For JX8P and stuff like that, don't they? JX3D.
I was wondering if those lasted well, or they were kind of hacks, you know.
Yeah, sometimes I get machines come in where they want me to remove the mics because they don't work anymore.
Yeah.
I bought a chip for my Oberheim Matrix 1000 to update it as well. It's working wonderfully. A lot smoother.
Yes.
So I think I'm running out of steam as well. So
yeah, I think we all are. So
the eyes glazing over.
Yeah.
So it was nice chat, and thank you, chaps.
Yeah, great stuff.
Talking to you, man.
I'll write you, Howie. I have something to ask you.
All right.
So
nice to meet you, Kent.
And you, mate.
And Andy.
Yeah, thanks. Love all your work. So thanks. Nice to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're not worthy, you know that.
Bye.
Bye, Howard. Yeah, so it was Howard's one of his first live streams.
Really?
So
did a good job.
It was
good.
Yeah. He really liked to be on, so it was no problem to get him on. So
good.
So how are you doing, Kent? Are you doing better after some weeks ago?
Yeah. Everything seems to be ticking over okay. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. So, and you got the montage, the new one?
Yes.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I mean, for what little time I've spent on it so far, I really want to actually put some time in on it, but I keep getting other things crop up that I have to go and deal with first. So hopefully next week I'll get to really go through it properly.
I have an old Modi X what I don't like about it is the sequencer. It's everything, as I remember it, has to be played live and recorded. There's no possibility for
And then cleaned
stepping.
up afterward.
Um,
Or,
maybe I can't remember, but
No.
I didn't like the way to program the sequencer. It's yeah. But one thing I liked about that synthesizer was the manual. It was really, really detailed. It was a cyclopedia, or was it? Isn't it called that? Cyclopedia.
Encyclopedia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really detailed. Um,
It has good features. I was just pissed that none of them had aftertouch. It's like, you make an FM
Yeah.
synth with no aftertouch? Are you nuts? I mean,
Yeah.
the goddamn original Yamaha DX7 had aftertouch,
Yeah.
right? Because they knew you needed that extra oomph for the timbre changing and stuff. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even the top of the line Mode DX didn't have it. I mean, come on, you pay like $2,000 or more, and you can't even get like basic channel aftertouch. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I tried the Mode DX, I'm sorry, the Montage 8 M or whatever it's called the other day at Guitar Center. It's fun because it really is cool how the aftertouch will come in. I didn't play it long enough to know that it was kind of 0 to 100 too quickly, but
Well, yeah.
at least it had it, which is cool, and it felt pretty good. So
yeah. As yet, I haven't found a page where you can change that curve yet.
yeah.
So there is that as well. So, but yeah, I mean, generally speaking, it's very nice sounding. I like it.
One thing I thought was lacking. I know they keep the end piece sometimes for putting a module there or whatever, something there. But I think it'd be a total workstation if they added the 4x4 pads. And especially if they added the 4x4 pads that the Hydrosynth had, where you actually get MPE pads. That would be awesome. And then it'd be like the ultimate workstation controller.
Yeah, I think they probably didn't do it because they actually want to not try to make it a workstation. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it kind of is. So they, they can't really. It's.
So, I mean, with its lack of sequencer and everything like that, it's.
Oh, it doesn't have any sequencer? I didn't know that.
No. It's leaning away from being a workstation as much as it possibly can.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I haven't watched enough videos on it, so I don't know. I'm flying blind, so.
Yeah, but I mean, because it literally, if you got Cubase, at least, I mean, you plug it in and it's sort of like, like a native device to Cubase, and it goes, oh, you've got a montage. Oh, yeah, okay. How many tracks do you want, and all this sort of thing, and then you can have the controls of Cubase from your screen. Right. So you can control what Cubase does and select tracks and mute and all the rest of it. And then obviously the USB audio out of it as well. So it's got the, how do you put it? It's sort of wearing the trousers of a workstation, but it's trying to walk like it isn't a workstation.
Right.
So, and
slowly transitioning away from the cookie cutter. Yeah.
So if you put the pads on and it had a sequencer as well, you'd be going, yeah, it's workstation, mate.
Yeah.
So it's going, no, I'm not a workstation.
But that sound engine with pads would be another cool dimension,
True enough.
Because I like the Hydrosynth with the keys, but I can see why the module people love that, because you can noodle about on the pads and get that same expression, like I do on the Machina Plus. Amazing pads on there. So.
Yeah. But it's very much a player synth at the moment. It seems to be very much geared towards that. So yeah, there's stuff to be had yet. I've still got to find out all its little, tricks that are under the bonnet there somewhere. And by which time they'll probably bring out a new OS for it, and I'll have to learn it all again. So. Because at the moment, I like if you wanted to change certain aspects in the way it operates, I'm having trouble even finding the page to do that, let alone find the actual, the actual parameters. So, but I haven't really spent enough time with it yet. So.
Yeah. Sounds wonderful. I mean, just a few patches I went
Yeah.
through, and the morphine, and it's like, holy shit, this thing's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
There's a lot of hubbly stuff in there. I must
Yeah,
say.
I can see why it costs so much. It's very nice.
Yeah.
Won't be in my studio. I can't afford that now, but
Yeah.
I was able to afford your amazing controller. I can't wait till that shows up.
Yeah.
That thing is cool, man.
So
Beautiful.
this is a still boxed one.
Yeah, it was new old stock.
Wow.
In fact, it hadn't been opened since it was shipped. This is that company in Australia that had it. You'd mentioned it.
Oh, Wave.
A-Wave. You mentioned it.
Yeah, A-Wave. Yes.
You mentioned it about a year ago, and I made a mental note of it. And I go, oh shit, those guys probably still have one.
Yeah.
And I talked to Lewis, and they went from having 2 to having 1 left. And I'm like, I better jump on this now because I'll never see one again. And he almost didn't sell it because it was his last one. He wanted to keep it. I said, come on, man. It's going to sit in a box. You're never going to use it. And so he nicely sold it to me for a good price.
Well,
so
give me your address.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Yeah.
There's a spare controller for it.
Cool. How often did you have to tweak those? Not much, right? I mean, it's pretty stable, right? The boards stay up.
Oh yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, it goes in, and then you put the well, if you got the, I'm trying to remember, did the files come with the unit or not? I'm trying to remember. I think it's pre-configured to match the software. So even if you put that in, turn it on, everything's mapped, ready to rock and roll.
There's only one issue with this because he wanted to not only make sure it was shipped properly, but also wanted to look at it since it's been sitting for, how many years ago is that? 20 years?
No, it'd be about
15?
10.
10, only 10? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been sealed up, never touched since they arrived there.
Yeah.
And he wanted to open up just to make sure, everything was fine inside. And there's only one thing that was different is a couple of the brassy knobs had changed to a nice copper color for some reason. But I thought it was kind of pretty, so I didn't care, so.
Yeah, they apparently, I got a lot of emails from people saying that the knobs were starting to go copper. I was like,
yeah, but it's pretty actually.
Yeah. If I remember rightly, I think I still have sets of knobs.
Oh wow. Is it just the alloy they used, or is it the a coating or something, or what? Why did they change?
Yeah, I think because they're aluminium knobs. Well, it's plastic heart, aluminium casing.
Yeah.
And the outsides are sprayed, and the outside I think goes porous or something.
Okay.
If, in whatever way they does it. We did get back to the company that did the knobs for us, and they went,
So if you sprayed it with like Varathane or something like that, it would be sealed and.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, although you're not the first person to say, well, actually, I like them in that sort of.
It is pretty
rich gold color that it's got.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. But it's good you got the mahogany one, because I never liked the black oak ones.
I'd be happy either way, but yeah, it is beautiful. When I saw
just that the grain in the mahogany ones is, it's lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. So I got the wood. Where did I get the wood from? Because all of them are hand cut, sanded, stained, and waxed and polished by hand. Every bloody piece of wood. God, we've done so many pieces of wood. The only thing was the CNC done the touch in the side.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a hand-built controller, man. It's ridiculous. Just
it's big.
What are we thinking?
I can't wait to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's heavy as well.
Hey, it's fine, man. That means it's durable and it's quality, so I'm happy about it.
But remember, it's excuse me, a CC controller, and it'll.
That's what I was. Yeah, that's what's cool about it.
Yeah,
I like Imposter. I have Imposter, but I definitely wanted to use it for other stuff too once in a while. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you could get yourself like little overlays made, you know, just honk,
Yeah.
whatever instrument it is you want to mess around with.
But it's you know, I ever since I saw it on Rich's table behind him, I was like, that thing looks really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, his one was it 001, but it had the RH0001. Then there's the HZ0001,
Oh,
and there's
wow.
the EP00, which is Eric Pearson's one. Who else wanted 0001? There was a couple.
That's funny.
So there's a lot of them because everybody was going, oh, I want the first one. Okay, it's all right. They're all the first one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm thinking of shutting down the stream for today.
No,
Okay.
buddy.
If you want to run a pub, you can do that, Kent.
Yeah, I might have to have a coffee and a sarnie. Restock first.
Yeah,
Gas up.
and then I will end it here.
Oh, buddy.
Andy, hang on afterwards for
Sure.
a second. Yeah, and thanks both of you and the chatters for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's always a blast too. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Thanks, man.
always a blast. True.
Mark Mothersbaugh approves. Yay!
Yeah. So see you next time.
Hi, everybody.
Take care.
I forgot one thing. Remember, until tomorrow, if you buy an album on my Bandcamp page, jax3d.bandcamp.com, then I will mail you so you can receive 3 free albums, which you choose and reply to me that you want them. Then you get some download links. So until tomorrow. So do order it now. I hope you will. Thank you. And see you next time.